These are the craziest Am I the Jerk posts of the last 12 months. Get ready to get involved in the comments down below and leave your thoughts. Are these people in the wrong or are they not? Am I the jerk for going live on TikTok in spite of my boyfriend telling me not to? I know it sounds really dumb, but I genuinely can't tell if I'm in the wrong or not anymore. For context, my boyfriend and I, we are 20 years old, have been together for almost a year. I have a decent following on social media, 200,000 on TikTok, even though I don't post much anymore. Recently, I decided to go live on TikTok to talk about the upcoming elections in my country. Now, I never go live, but I figured this was an important topic and I wanted to use my most popular platform to discuss it. I told my boyfriend beforehand, since it felt kind of embarrassing, and I wanted to update him on why I was about to do it. He seemed weirdly annoyed, but ultimately agreed. During the live, he kept messaging me in private to stop because weird men were flirting with me in the chat. Yeah, it's true. There were some men complimenting or trolling, but I didn't engage, and my mods and I were constantly blocking them. I also kept making comments like, if you comment weird stuff, you'll get blocked, to indirectly reassure him. At one point, I got a compliment on my eyebrows, and I replied with a quick thank you, then went back to elections. My boyfriend saw that and started to argue with the chatter, asking me in private if I knew him. Now, I didn't, but my boyfriend went on his profile and saw it was a guy. He had no profile picture and a random username, so I didn't know. He got really mad and the chat got crazy, so I stopped the live. I didn't answer my boyfriend's text right away since I didn't want to address it while live, but I reassured him in private afterwards. The next day, I decided to go live again since it was the day before the elections. I was on FaceTime with my boyfriend when I told him, and he got more annoyed, saying he hates it when I go live, but that he doesn't care anymore and I can do whatever. I knew he was upset, but I felt he was being unreasonable, so I went live despite his disagreement. 5 minutes in, he called me saying he can't take it anymore, initially claiming it's indirect cheating because of the men in the chat, but then admitting he's embarrassed because going live on TikTok is low life and he can't have his girlfriend doing that. He also said I was negligent towards his feelings for not pausing or stopping the live to respond to his messages the other day. He felt disrespected because not going live was a small favour he asked, yet I chose to be selfish. I explained that I know TikTok lives are associated with cringe, but I wanted to use my most popular platform to speak on elections and encourage voting. I apologised for not responding right away the other day, thinking it was best to wait until I ended the live, given that I was at peak viewers and mid-answering questions about candidates, and it's rare that I use my platforms like that anymore. However, he still thinks I'm in the wrong, and I don't want to make him feel disrespected. So, was I being selfish for still going live? Am I the jerk? Okay, no doubt about it, your boyfriend is just horribly insecure and jealous. I mean, the stuff he's doing just makes no sense at all to me, and he just seems like a terrible person to be doing these sort of things. It's extremely controlling, extremely manipulative. He's also gaslighting you a lot as well. You know, if you've got 200,000 followers on TikTok, you can make some decent money from that. And, you know, who knows? You might want that to be a full-time job pretty soon. I mean, that's more followers than I've got on TikTok, that's for sure. So fair play to you. Him saying it's cringe and that, you know, people are just flirting with you and therefore that's cheating. What? You're just doing it because you're passionate about it and you want to speak about things you care about. It doesn't really matter if it's politics or whatever it is. You're doing it and you enjoy doing it. But he's saying, no, stop doing that. It's cringe. I don't think you're a good match for each other, but that's because I just don't think he's a good person. And also, like, especially on TikTok, but more just on the internet in general, there are always going to be creeps on these sort of platforms. I mean, if you go into any TikTok live with any girl, I mean, they don't have to be good looking, let's be completely honest. You will get a load of creeps. That's a bit harsh, but it is true. You just go in the comments, you just see there would be so many creeps. So it's always going to happen. It's sad, but it's true. So your boyfriend's just got to go. Now for our next post. Am I the jerk for reminding my friend that she married for intelligence and look where it got her? I am a 35-year-old woman, and I met my husband, Vince, who is 36, after he saved me from drowning at a pool party when I was 18. I took him out for lunch the following week to thank him for saving me, and we soon fell in love and began dating. Wow, what a way to meet someone. At the time, Vince worked a blue-collar job while I was studying in university. We ended up getting married, and Vince supported me throughout my entire education up until I got my PhD. Vince always told me that he wanted to study at university, but had learning disabilities that made it difficult for him to study in a classroom. At times, he was embarrassed by the fact that he had to work twice as hard compared to people around him, but I always found that to be admirable about him. When I finished my studies and got a well-paying job, I convinced Vince to convince his dream. That is wow, what a tongue twister. I'm leaving that in, just so you guys know that I do sometimes mess up. Convinced Vince, wow. Right, let me try that again. When I finished my studies and got a well-paying job, I convinced Vince to give his dream of studying another go. Last year, he was finally accepted into a nursing program at our local university. He's working hard to achieve his dream, and I'm incredibly proud of him. Last week, my friend Alba, who is 36, came to visit with her son so our children could play together. Alba was my roommate during my first year in university. She began dating her husband, Leo, around the same time I started dating Vince. Leo was an obnoxious law student who later on became an even more obnoxious attorney. He was a know-it-all who prided himself on his intelligence, which for some reason attracted Alba. At the time, Alba would sometimes tease me that I could do better than Vince, and would offer to set me up with one of Leo's law school buddies, but I'd always refuse, and she eventually dropped the subject. Alba and Leo are currently going through a nasty divorce that stems from him cheating on her. Quite frankly, he is dragging her through the mud and is using connections to try and leave her as penniless as possible. As we were chatting and catching up, Alba began to express concern over the fact that my eldest son, who is 7, was recently diagnosed with dyslexia. Alba began telling me how she's worried that my son will be academically challenged, like his father, and what that could entail for his future. Now, before I could respond, she told me how I should have married someone smart while I had the chance, so I would have kids like hers. Alba's son is an incredibly bright boy and a straight A student. I told Alba her advice was unnecessary and reminded her where marrying for intelligence got her. I then proceeded to tell her that I would rather have my son grow up to be an honest, hardworking person like his father than an academically gifted jerk who wasn't smart enough to know sleeping with his secretary could have consequences on his marriage like her husband. Alba was deeply hurt by what I've said and stormed out with her son. Some mutual friends are now chiming in and are telling me that I was too harsh on her for using her failing marriage to prove my point, and that I should apologise. Now, before I get into my thoughts about this one, guys, OP has given a little update. She says, I wanted to address a couple of things. Many of you asked in the comments why Alba and I remained friends despite her previous remarks. Alba and I grew apart during our 3rd year in university. We only remain friends by association since we have a lot of shared mutuals. We became close again after our sons started playing basketball together at the local community centre, and then became friends. I figured that becoming a mother made her more mature, and she didn't give me any reason to suspect otherwise. I've decided to send her a message saying that the way she spoke about my husband and son was unacceptable, and therefore she is no longer welcome in my home. However, I don't want our sons to lose their friendship, and therefore I am willing to remain civil around the kids and still organise playdays. She hasn't replied to me yet, but I truly hope she loves her son enough to put her ego aside and remain civil for the sake of our kids. I'm yet to notify Vince about the entire situation, since he's vigorously studying for an important quiz that's coming up next week, and I know that if he heard what Alba said about him and our boy, it would make him upset, and he wouldn't be able to continue studying properly. Unless something crazy happens in the meantime, I'll probably update him next week after he's done with the quiz. Okay, there we go. That is the update. No way, OP, you can possibly be in the wrong here. She said some pretty horrible things to your face about the people you love the most, and she's the one that is saying you need to apologize to me. I don't think so. To be honest, I think the reason that she is saying these things is because she knows that you're right, and that, yeah, she did choose a bad husband and you chose a good one. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. And also, hasn't her point been proved wrong by the fact that her relationship with her husband hasn't worked out and yours has, in that she's saying that you need to have a kid that's more intelligent? Well, do you really? Because are they gonna grow up to be a better person? Not necessarily. I mean, it sounds like your kid's just a nice guy, and who knows? Her kid could just turn out like her ex-husband. Don't get me wrong, I think there's nothing wrong with going for somebody because they're intelligent. That's an extremely admirable and attractive quality, but it's not the be-all and end-all, that's for sure. I think there are some things that are more important. I mean, we all know somebody who's incredibly intelligent, and we can never say they're not, but they're a dick as well. I mean, We all know somebody like that. Oh, and also, good luck to Vince on his quiz. Best of luck, my friend. Okay, now for our third Am I the Jerk post. Am I the jerk for telling my son I have no plans to motivate or support him after he is an adult? My oldest kid is a good kid, but kind of lazy. His mum has always protected him. She has her reasons. Her first husband and child passed away about 22 years ago. 2 years after that, we met, fell in love, got married, and had a kid. Unfortunately for me, our son's birth was a catalyst for a regression for her. He could do no wrong. If I tried to punish or even just correct him, she'd get upset and start crying or fight with me. If he found something difficult and I wanted him to work through it or try harder, she would step in and tell me to back off or actually just do it for him. This led to our divorce. I wanted to be a father, not a spectator. She fought so I wouldn't get custody. I ended up with visitation. My kid wouldn't do anything though. He wouldn't bring his homework over and all he wanted to do was play video games. If I didn't let him, he had tantrums. It was exhausting, and she would always back him up. It was always my fault. I remarried to my wife, Diane. We have 2 children and are doing our best to raise them right. My son stopped coming over when he was 14. I still invite him, but he rarely responds. My child support just stopped. His mum has been giving it to him to do whatever he wanted for the last 3 years. Not my problem. But he just called me to see if I could help him with money. I asked what for. He said that his mum can't give him the allowance he is used to. I asked if he was going to be attending some sort of post-secondary school. He said no, so I told him to get a job. His mum has lost her mind. She said she would take me back to court so her poor baby can live his life his way. I wish for the odds to be ever in her favour, and I hung up. Okay, that's just weird because I'm rewatching the Hunger Games at the moment. By the way, a great set of books, and potentially an even better set of films. That's up for debate. Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, now that he is an adult, I never have to talk to her again. It's too bad because I loved her very much. Not anymore. My son asked me to help him find a job. I said I would. I told him to send me his resume. I've been waiting 3 weeks for it. He called me yesterday to see if I'd made any progress on finding him one. I said he never sent me his resume. He got upset that I hadn't reminded him. It was one thing. I told him that I wasn't going to motivate him to do anything, that I would be here if he needed help, but that it would never be money again. I let him come over and helped him with a resume. I also taught him about the trades or a community college. He's beginning to understand how effed his future is now that his mum cannot do everything for him. He's upset with his mother now because he doesn't have life skills. She is mad at me for showing him the truth. Okay, now this one is I actually think it's relatively controversial, and I think it's up for debate because of what has happened, OP, to your ex-wife in her life. I don't think that she can be blamed for the way that she has chosen to deal with and raise her son, your son. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, and it's not ideal for you to be in a relationship with someone who is parenting your child like this, because we can all admit, we know that's not the right way to raise someone or to parent someone. Just let them have everything. We know that's going to lead to them being extremely entitled and just a golden child that will have no motivation. But put yourself in her shoes. Of course she's going to baby him. Her husband and child passed away 22 years ago, and she's obviously still got that trauma with her, and it's going to be with her for life. I can't exactly blame her for being really protective over her kid, even though, and to be fair, I'm sure even she would probably say that it's not the best thing for him. She just wants to make sure that he has everything he wants, that he's alive, and that, yeah, you know, that he just lives a nice life, I suppose. Now, yeah, for you, OP, it's obviously not ideal, and I understand why this relationship didn't work out for you. And I agree, by the way, with the things that you're doing and saying to your son. It's also very nice that you're still there for him. But yeah, you can't just give him loads of money and then just get a job for him. That's not helping. But I just do feel bad for your ex-wife, is all I'll say. Now for our final post of this episode. Am I the jerk for calling out my sister-in-law in front of everyone when she wouldn't stop making comments about me trying to be a sexy baby? I am a 27-year-old woman. I am very short. I'm 4'9" and I'm under 100 pounds. I don't want to complain about being small, but there are a lot of people out there, especially other women, who will not take us seriously, are judgmental, make snide comments, assume attraction to us is nefarious, etc. A lot of comments that imply we're not real women. I'm used to it and I usually let it roll off my back. but there's a new one that's picked up momentum that I guess stems from a TV show where a girl is putting on a childish act and she says, "I am a very sexy baby," in a cutesy voice, and there's a lot more to it than you can just Google. Yeah, I won't be doing that, but if you want to, guys, be my guest. My sister-in-law Cassie has picked this up and has been using this against me. I can't wear a cute outfit without her coming down on me and chiding me for buying into the whole sexy baby thing when I'm just wearing an outfit. I'm just trying to be me. God forbid I wear a shorter skirt or bows or anything I think is cute. It's like I'm not allowed to wear cute or sexy things because I'm petite, so I'm automatically seen as trying to be a sexy baby when I'm not. I've asked Cassie to stop or drop it, and she maintains that I'm the one opening myself up to judgment and I should dress my age. This came to a head last weekend when we were in my auntie's backyard at the pool. I took off my wrap so I could hang with my feet in the pool with my cousins, and Cassie immediately said, "You're a very sexy baby," at me, and twirled imaginary pigtails. I raised my voice and I said, "That's a really weird thing to keep saying. What is your problem with me? Why do you keep bringing up that I'm small?" She started to turn red and yelled back again that I'm the one that's choosing to walk around looking like the, quote, sexy baby. I said that I'm literally just wearing a bathing suit, a one-piece halter, and I asked her what I should be wearing instead if that's such a problem. She yelled back that I should dress like a grown adult and to stop trying to cause a scene in front of everyone. I said whatever, and I just tried to ignore her. Later on, we ended up inside at the same time, and she came down on me for calling her out in front of everyone. I told her to stop trying to make me feel bad for being small. I didn't choose this body. She rolled her eyes and told me to grow the F up, and that trying to start trash with her is even more proof. I'm at a loss here, and I'm starting to just not want to be around my family because of her. It's not enough that I get this trash from women at work, at the gym, basically anywhere. Now it's in my family. So, am I the jerk for calling her out? Or even for just, I don't know, existing in my own body? No, of course not. You're absolutely not the jerk for this. And it's good that you called Cassie out on this, because if you didn't, who knows? This might have just carried on. Well, it definitely would have carried on, but it might actually have got even worse. So yeah, you had to say something. And to be honest, I actually hadn't ever really thought about this. Obviously, I'm not a small petite girl, as much as I potentially would love to be.
What do you mean by that?
But it's, you're raising awareness for these sort of people, and you might think I'm being sarcastic here. I'm actually not. I would never think about this sort of thing, but some of the stuff that you're saying about, just kind of being objectified because of your height and your size, I can understand it, but I hadn't actually ever thought about it. So yeah, I appreciate you actually saying that to somebody like me that just hasn't really ever crossed my mind. So respect for writing this, and respect for telling Cassie to F off. My wife divorced me 5 years after making me get a vasectomy. Am I the jerk for not being on speaking terms with her anymore? My ex-wife, she's 32 and I am a 32-year-old man, finalized our divorce proceedings last year. We had a kid when we were 21, got married at 25, and at 26, my wife made me get a vasectomy because she did not want any more kids. I was hesitant because I always wanted more kids, but for the sake of our marriage, I decided to go through with it, and my wife was very happy. However, our marriage went through its ups and downs, and we both amicably decided on a divorce because we weren't compatible. Even after the divorce, we were on good speaking terms, and we were good friends. However, a month after finalizing our divorce proceedings, I went to the doctor to check if my vasectomy could be reversed, and after evaluating everything, the doctor told me it couldn't be. I was devastated, and I really regretted listening to my wife many years ago, who made me get this, and who also then divorced me later. I took a week off work because I was really struggling with this news, and I built up a lot of resentment towards my ex-wife. But for the sake of our son, I acted like everything was normal. However, I decided a week later, after speaking to my sister, that I needed a clean break from my ex-wife and to cut off all communication with her, even though she was my son's mother. My sister let my ex-wife know. The co-parenting arrangements would still be the same, and I would drop and pick up my son, but if my ex-wife attempted to even say anything or speak to me, I would go to the courts, and the co-parenting arrangement could then become extremely complicated. Any further communication with me would be via my sister. It's been almost a year since this arrangement, and my son asks me occasionally why I don't speak to his mum anymore. He told me he's seen his mum crying many times, especially after I drop him off, and when he asks her about it, she says nothing. My sister tells me my ex-wife is very remorseful about it, and if she could take it back, she would. And she's asked multiple times if we could at least communicate normally because she misses talking to me. But I will never go back on it, especially as I've now been dating my current girlfriend for a few months and we're becoming serious. So, the people of Reddit and the people of YouTube and wherever you're listening, am I the jerk? Okay, so let's go through this in order chronologically. I think that is the best thing to do to try and work out exactly what's going on here and if you're the jerk or not. Spoiler alert, I don't think you are, but it's not really about that. Right, first of all, straight away, should you have got a vasectomy in the first place? Probably not, let's be honest, especially not at that age. But there's not really too much point talking about that. That's been and gone. Secondly, and a lot of people are saying this in the comments down below, get a second opinion from another doctor. Just because one surgeon has said that it cannot be reversed does not mean, apparently, according to people in the comments down below, and if you know more about this, let me know in the comments on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, that this cannot be reversed. Also, there are other options for childbirth, so it's not the end of the world for you. Now, thirdly, are you the jerk for not talking to your wife? No. If you don't want to do it, that's on you. I think that's okay. The one thing you do have to make sure is that it's not affecting your child's life. And if it is, then you would have to make concessions for that. However, she did do something pretty bad to you. Forcing you to get a vasectomy, it sounds like, and then divorcing you is pretty tough. Again, though, I would say that is partly on you. You shouldn't have done it in the first place, no matter what she said. But nonetheless, that happened, and yeah, this is now happening, and you feel this way. Don't talk to her. I'm fine with that. Okay, now moving on to our second story. Now, this one is a little bit more serious. There's an update to it as well, and I'll give a slight trigger warning for it too. Am I the jerk for telling my husband that my doctor knows more than him and refusing to forgive him? Hello, everyone. My husband and I had been married for 4 years and been together for 6. And this is the very first huge argument we've ever had. I, a 24-year-old woman, am currently 33 weeks pregnant with his, a 31-year-old man's, baby. When I was 20 weeks pregnant, my doctor diagnosed me with placenta previa, which, if you don't know, is basically when the placenta for my baby is covering the opening in my cervix. They told me it would likely move as my baby grew, but it never did. So, I am scheduled for a C-section in just 3 weeks. At 20 weeks, I was put on very light restrictions, but at 30, I got put on heavier restrictions, like no running, no lifting or climbing, no standing for longer than 3 hours at a time, and most importantly, no sex and no vaginal exams. My doctor told me that pretty much we want absolutely nothing that potentially would make me bleed, which could lead to preterm birth. So I've been doing this all for 3 weeks, but it's been driving my husband freaking insane. Every single day, he bothers me for sex. Every single day. Every single day, I tell him I can't, and I remind him of the restrictions. I don't even want to have sex anyway. My tummy is so big and I'm always exhausted. He doesn't really like those answers. Finally, he came to me and started going on about how doctors sometimes dramatize things for the sake of their careers and more money. He said they push for C-sections. I was like, okay, whatever, but I know that I have this condition. Obviously, I'm going to follow the rules. He didn't take the answer though, and we ended up having sex. For a few hours after, I was having really heavy bleeding and I got scared. I was crying in the bathroom, trying to figure out what to do. I ended up calling my doctor and she told me to come in right away. The whole car ride there, I was just sobbing, imagining that in an hour I'd be having a C-section for an only 33-week-old baby. We quickly figured out that I am not in preterm labor. I was just bleeding, and as long as it stops, it will be okay. It did, and I'm fine. But while I was there, my doctor asked my husband to leave and started asking me questions. She asked me if I did anything I wasn't supposed to. She was like, this isn't accusatory, it's okay. It's just better to know if it was caused by something or was random. I told her that I had sex. She just went over all the things again and then gave me a bunch of information on domestic violence. She put them in my purse for me. Literally. I was so embarrassed. When we got into the car, I broke down and yelled at my husband, telling him to never do that to me again and telling him that my doctor knows more than him and knows what is best for me and the baby. He apologized, and I could tell he really meant it. I've still been holding a grudge for days, and he's been groveling for days. He asked me how long I was going to make him apologize for. I told him at least until the baby is born. Am I the jerk for that? Oh my goodness me. An unbelievable start to this one, but there is an update. So that was posted at the time of recording just 5 days ago. And that same day, we got the following update, which I'm going to read before I give my overall thoughts. I wasn't originally going to make an update just because I was getting into specific detail about my life and I didn't want anyone I know in real life to find it, but I will because, well, I don't know why actually. I guess I just got some really good comments. I posted this about 7 hours ago and I cannot believe how many people have responded. I don't know if I could ever say thank you enough to such thoughtful strangers on the internet. And now at the time of recording, that original post has 26,000 upvotes and over 8,000 comments. And they are, as OP said, unbelievably supportive, but also, as you'd hope, extremely negative about OP's husband doing this stuff. It's just insane. Anyway, let's carry on. So, originally my plan was to tell my doctor and my sister-in-law, maybe my brother, but I wasn't looking forward to discussing those details with him. I rescheduled my weekly appointment with my doctor for tomorrow. I know some people said that I'd be able to just walk in, but I didn't want to do it and then have to make some excuse to my husband. The comments actually made me realize the severity of the situation, and honestly, I'm terrified. Yes, I mean, we are talking about the R word here, let's be realistic. So I called my sister-in-law when she got off work and we had a really long conversation. I mentioned it in the comments, but my sister-in-law and brother have never really liked my husband. Especially my sister-in-law. She was very supportive and kind, and we talked for a long time. I guess I can now admit that it wasn't just sex, it was the R word. We talked about that more than anything else. And she cleared the whole confusion thing up very quickly. I told her a lot of the things that my mum excused because she likes my husband, and my sister-in-law was livid. I guess I kind of knew she always would be, which is why I never told her. She ended up telling me to talk to my doctor, and she will talk to my brother, and we will see what's going on. She said she will come down on the soonest flight, but my brother cannot come yet because they do have children of their own. I was content with that though, and my appointment with my doctor is tomorrow. My husband got home kind of early and saw how upset I was. I really was planning on getting myself together before he came home, but I didn't have time. Still, I wasn't going to tell him anything, but he was being so kind, which he really usually is. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true. But today especially, he was so kind and so worried about me. I know it was stupid to explain the situation, but I did. I don't know why. I'm just used to telling him my problems, I guess. It was a mistake, and I know that. I'm really trying not to be so stupid anymore, but it's hard to switch from thinking about him as my loving and caring husband to my husband who is hurting me. So, I told him that, and how he hurt me, and honestly, that I'm so scared now. He was like, "What? How?" I said by forcing me to have sex, by literally forcing my legs apart and telling me to, quote, calm down. He was like, "Oh my freaking God, don't say that. That's a crime. Do you understand? Do you understand? You just accused me of marital R?" and pushed me away from him. I started to apologize and he started to say it was okay and do that thing where he acts like I'm dumb again. So I finally said, yeah, actually, I really do understand that now. It isn't right, and it is marital R. It resulted in a huge argument once again. He called me an idiot for even daring to say those words. I called him an abuser, and he literally laughed. He was like, "Who are you talking to? You don't know what you're talking about," and started to go on and on about things that I, quote, don't know about. He said that sex with his wife is an R, no matter how you split it. Oh God, those are OP's words, by the way. Just poor choice of words. Let's carry on. I ended up trying to just walk away, but he grabbed me by my wrist. I snatched my hand away and he held up his hands and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. That might be considered battery of a pregnant woman if we're going by your definitions." The condescending tone is what really drove me to the edge, and I told him I don't want to be around him. He was like, "Fine, I'll go." I said, "No, I want to go. I want to be away from you." He threw the credit card at me and told me to go and get a hotel then. So I did, and here I am, typing this now. And my sister-in-law is on her way right now, but I am so far from okay. He's called me several times, but I won't answer. I have never seen him that angry before. I'm slightly concerned what he'll do if I genuinely tell him I want to leave and take the baby. He is the one who wanted to have a child, and I was convinced. He won't let me take her easily, and that terrifies me. Every time my daughter kicks, I just want to sob. I never thought that my own baby would make me cry like this, but I'm just so scared. Okay, now what I'm hoping is that OP's sister-in-law gets to her and just backs everything that OP is saying on Reddit up and gives her the confidence to do what she must, what she knows in her heart of hearts she must do, and get away from this man, this horrible excuse for a human being, as quickly as possible, for the safety not just of her but of her own child as well. Unreal. This guy's an absolute monster. You got to get away from him. Don't care if you love him, get him out of your life. Obviously easier said than done, but just crazy. Must be a terrifying thought, right? Someone who you loved so much, and you probably do still love, and thought loved you back, and maybe that is his version of love. But the mask slips a bit, and you see what that person is really like, and you try to stand up for yourself, and you just get completely just like slapped back down. I guess all I can say really is just good luck. It's going to be a long, terribly challenging road, OP, but I know that you got the strength to do it. And you should really lean on your sister-in-law and your brother, I think, during this time to get you through it. Goodness me. What a story. Now for our final post of this episode. Am I the jerk for leaving home after my husband said I should handle the cost of all the IVF sessions because I'm the cause of infertility in our marriage? Oh my goodness me. I don't even need to read this. No, you're obviously not. But I will read it anyway. I've been married to my husband for 13 years. We've been trying for so long to have a child, but haven't been able to do so. We've tried many methods, and nothing has worked. The mental toll has been a lot for us, so we've taken some time before we try again. A friend of mine suggested we try IVF, and I told my husband. He agreed to the suggestion, but the cost kind of had him hesitating. IVF sessions are costly, yes, but me and my husband have enough savings to afford them. I spoke to him again about it, and he said he wasn't sure that we should take this route. He pointed out how one session isn't guaranteed and that we'd have to pay for more. Again, I mentioned how he and I can afford it with our money combined. He looked at me intently and then told me that, logically, since I'm the cause of infertility, he thought that I should handle the cost of IVF sessions by myself. Oh my god. I just gotta laugh. That is so stupid. I was shocked. I couldn't even muster a response to what he said. He said it to my face, straight. I felt so hurt that I exploded on him, and he acted like I was being unreasonable, and then said that he was not obligated to pay for my own medical issues. I lost it, and decided to pack my stuff and go stay with my mother. No response from him after that. Just a text stating, quote, "Truth hurts," that he sent me when I rejected his phone call. Wow, this guy is just cold. I got blamed by my family saying that I'm overriding his feelings and that he had the right to open up about how he felt when I kept pushing him about the IVF, especially considering his mental health state from being able to become a father, which is a human right that he has. Sorry, this is your family. Okay. Yes, I do take responsibility for my infertility, but this was too much. Did I overreact? Was I wrong for taking a stance against what he said and leaving? Okay guys, I think that is going to do it for this episode, because what is the point in me even commenting on this story? Like, it's just, there's just so much wrong with this that I don't even know where to begin. So instead, I will just not comment, because I would have to go through every single word of this and just say how backwards and wrong it was to effectively, you know, give a proper conclusion as to what I've just read and give my thoughts across. That this actually is probably one of the worst things that I've seen on Reddit. The good news is, I guess, if you want to call it good news, is that at least you know who this man is right now. And I don't really want to say this, but in comparison to the previous story where the woman already had a baby, or was in the, you know, was pregnant with his baby, you know, you at least aren't at that stage yet. It's kind of clutching at straws, but it's not a negative thing, is it, that you can get out of it without having a child with this person? But goodness me, it's your medical issue, so you can pay for it, despite the fact that you're both going to be parents to this child. My husband turned into a psychopath for a split second yesterday, and I don't know if I am overreacting. I want to say that my husband has never ever behaved like this before. This is the first time he's ever scared me, and I have no idea what to do. I am 23 weeks pregnant with our first baby, and we've been married for 3 years. I am a 24-year-old woman and he is 32. My husband owns firearms and works in law enforcement and is trained to handle them safely. They stay in a locked safe at home and he's never once played around with them. All of that is for context. So, as for what happened yesterday, I was simply walking through the kitchen as I noticed my husband at the kitchen counter looking at one of the firearms. I didn't say anything, but I looked over at him, wondering what he was doing. He'd gotten home from work, and right before this, we talked for a bit, had dinner, and I took a shower. Everything was good and normal. As I looked at him, my husband looked up at me and stared for a second, blinked, and then picked the gun up and pointed it at my tummy with a complete straight face. My heart frickin' dropped, of course, and I smacked the gun down. My husband then started laughing, but the split second of pure seriousness on his face was terrifying. I asked him why the heck he did that, and he says, "Do you think it scared him?" Talking about, I assume, the baby. I didn't know what to say, but tears welled up in my eyes. This prompted a half an hour long apology and hours of comfort from him, with claims that he wasn't thinking, but also that he was just joking. The look in his eyes scared me. The fact that he pointed the gun at me is terrifying. I don't know what to do. I'm so upset. I'm so distraught. Am I overreacting? Well, you're obviously not overreacting, OP. That is a genuinely terrifying moment. How could that ever be a joke? It's just not, you just would never point a gun at anyone ever as a joke. It's just insane. You know, we've seen throughout history, and, you know, quite recently, to be fair, stories where people have done this sort of thing, not realized there was a bullet in the chamber or whatever, and yeah, it's been tragic things. But the main thing that's going on here, which is really, really scary for you, is that, like, he doesn't even seem to be that remorseful about it. And why would you even do this in the first place? Like, I would never, ever do this. It's such a crazy thing to do. If you are going to joke around like that, there are probably less dangerous jokes you can make than pointing a gun at your pregnant wife's belly. But hey, maybe that's just me. I don't know. You'd have to have serious questions about your relationship now. Very, very weird. Yeah, the look on his face and the seriousness is the terrifying thing there, let alone the fact that he's pointed a gun at you. Wow. Now moving on to our next post. This has two parts. The original was posted 6 days ago at the time of recording, but there's also an update posted just a few days ago, which we'll get into afterwards. Am I the jerk for laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter? I am a 30-year-old man, and I have a daughter who is 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most of all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically, and we were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. Oh wow. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I'd been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents. So I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter, biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows that her parents are dead and they were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mum. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this, because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that that was Lily's mother. She then got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows that my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed that my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant that me and Lily weren't related as well.
she came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. Oh my goodness. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. You know what, OP, respect. I don't think I would have had that reaction if this was said to me by my sister-in-law in front of my daughter. Wow. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad that I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What does she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me a jerk. I don't feel like one, especially considering that my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. So, I'm asking for Reddit's opinions, mostly just for validation. Was I the jerk? Oh my goodness me. I mean, what a first post. Now, it's pretty obvious, and you can probably guess, guys, that the consensus in the comments down below, and by the way, this has nearly 60,000 upvotes and nearly 10,000 comments, was of course that OP wasn't the jerk here. But as I said, let's get straight into the update for this one before I give my overall thoughts. So here we go. OP says, my sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. Oh my gosh, it gets even worse. Like, your sister-in-law doing this is one thing, even though OP has said that she knew about what had been going on, and I guess actually maybe she didn't know, which makes it a little bit more acceptable. I say acceptable in very loose terms. Obviously, it's not acceptable at all. But now finding out it was actually your brother who 100% does know about the history of Lily's parents and how you came to be her father, that is absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. OP continues, when I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mum were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mum told me that Lily was mine and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. My sister-in-law was under the impression that I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mum and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed that we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mum, and I assumed that she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know that my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. Okay, fair enough, this actually is getting a little bit more acceptable for OP's sister-in-law. Still doesn't change the fact that she should not be conducting these sort of tests, DNA tests, on anyone that isn't herself. It's still ridiculous, but yeah, let's carry on. So she got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was actually Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved that I wasn't Lily's bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he'd lied about the circumstances, which is why my sister-in-law confronted me with the results. My sister-in-law also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mum had an affair and cheated on her father and got pregnant with another man's kid and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She'd wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking I was being led on to believe that I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid. And she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. Okay, the more and more I read of this, the more and more acceptable it becomes, but I still don't agree with it. I still think it's very, very wrong to do what she did. Anyway, my sister-in-law does feel very guilty and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told my sister-in-law that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further and said that me and Lily's mum were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I'll forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mum died. Okay, so there we go. So much to unpack there, and yeah, just an absolutely insane story there from start to finish. It did kind of change. The way I expected it to go was not how it ended up going. The fact that actually your sister-in-law and what she did became more and more reasonable the longer the story went on, especially getting into the update there. You know, she's clearly had a lot of trauma herself in terms of this sort of similar situation. And actually, it sounds to me as if, although I still don't agree with what she did, she was trying to help you out. And yeah, I'm not really surprised that she actually jumped to this level of anger and sort of emotion when hearing what your brother was saying to her, which is absolutely incredible. Like, there's no doubt about it. Your sister-in-law still completely violated your daughter's privacy. And then she still, no matter what she was thinking, she should never have said what she said in front of your daughter. She knows firsthand about trauma that happens from childhood, that stems from childhood. Who knows what effect that might have on your daughter throughout the rest of her life. But your brother is the one that is just absolutely insane here. And yeah, I don't know how you could ever have a relationship with him again. Is that salvageable? It can't be. Comments down below. Let me know. Do you think this relationship is just dead now? Personally, I think it has to be. I just don't really know what his intentions were throughout all of this. Unless he's just a crazy individual. What was he even trying to do? Who knows? Now moving on to our final Am I the Jerk post of this episode. Am I the jerk for glowing up after my divorce and not before? I am a 53-year-old woman, and I've been divorced from my ex-husband Larry, who is 54, for 6 years. Larry and I have 2 adult children. Steve, who's a 27-year-old man, you could probably guess that by the fact that his name is Steve, and Carla, who is a 25-year-old woman. Although I will say that if anyone out there called Steve, who is not a man, is listening to this episode or watching this video right now, get in the comments. I'd be interested to see if there is anyone. Larry and I met in college when we were both electrical engineering students. We were both very much on the nerdy side and looked the part, but were very attracted to each other. Or so I thought anyway. We got married soon after we graduated and both worked as engineers, but after a few years, Larry decided he wanted to go to law school to become a patents lawyer. In order to look the lawyer part, Larry underwent a major glow up during this time on pretty much all levels. Tailored clothes, fancy haircuts, designer accessories like watches, etc., along with working out to trade his dad bod for a lean gym bod. During this time, I was having and raising our small children while taking care of about 95% of household matters because of his long working hours, all while working full-time. I admit, I didn't glow up along with Larry. My own appearance has always been on the plainer side. I'm not overweight, but I'm a bit stocky. I'm 5'5" and 140 pounds. I've got simply cut hair, glasses, practical clothes, not much makeup. Larry loved me as is for about the first decade of our relationship. But after he started working as a lawyer, he started to become drawn to more conventionally attractive women and had several affairs. When I pressed for counselling, he said that the issues were things like my big nose, God, and post-baby tummy pooch, not things that I could fix with a simple makeover. I was getting organised to ask for a divorce when Carla was hit by a car while riding her bike. She survived and is fine now, but needed several years of intensive surgeries and rehab. In order to provide a unified front for Carla and Steve, Larry and I agreed to stay married and be as cordial as possible. He continued to see other women during this time, but by this time I was past trying to get him to be faithful. We did separate and divorce after Carla went off to college. Larry is remarried now to a much younger woman. She is 33. In the past couple of years, I've actually decided to focus more on myself, including my appearance. Now that my children are grown and out of the house, and I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around a difficult husband, I finally have time and resources to do so. I didn't get a nose job or other plastic surgery like Larry had wanted, but I did update and colour my hair. I started working out more, lost about 15 pounds. I got a new wardrobe, and I actually started dating. I don't have a steady partner yet, but regularly go to age-appropriate singles events and go on dates. Unfortunately, my children detest the new me. In particular, they blame me for the divorce and are angry that I didn't glow up to accommodate Larry, saying I was too selfish and lazy to do so when it mattered. I did not expect this to go in this direction. I thought this would be Larry saying, "Oh, why didn't you do this when we were together?" Not your own children. Surely they know firsthand the reasons why you didn't do this. Not that you have to do this anyway. That's just insane. Okay, let's carry on. My son Steve is getting married soon and says he is too angry to invite me to the wedding. Carla has gone low contact with me. Oh wow. I had great relationships with both of them until I started my own glow up process a couple of years ago, which was a few years after Larry and I finalized our divorce. Steve and Carla have told me that the only way to fix this, the only thing that would be fair, is to go back to the way I was before, meaning to stop colouring my hair, dress in my former plain/frumpy way, and stop dating. They say they are the most upset about the dating and that it's not fair for me to be looking for a new partner. Okay, there is so much going on here. So, am I the jerk for everything that I've done here? For not improving my appearance until after I got divorced? I really don't think that Larry would have been faithful to me no matter how much I twisted myself in knots. I felt I did the best I could, given the energy and resources I had, and while it may seem selfish, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now, but I'm open to other opinions if I've done something wrong here. What am I reading? I actually just started laughing there because Opie has said, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now. Yes, obviously you do. I cannot believe what your kids have been saying to you. Sorry, let me just jump on Facecam. Okay, with this one, I'm actually going to jump in the comments because a lot of people are saying, like, kind of like me, they're just bemused by what's gone on here, saying, is this even for real? Why do your kids think they have a say in what you wear or, if you lose weight or not, if you get fit, if you date? It's very, very strange. People are saying it's not normal and it's not okay. And if you want to go back, or sorry, if the kids are saying to you to go back to your old self, are they saying to Larry as well that he's got to go back to his old self? Probably not. And also, I think that they're not at the sort of age where they can be influenced to such an extent or like manipulated or gaslit by their dad to such an extent that they'd say these things because of him. Like, how old are they again? They're adults. They're 27 and 25. If my mum, say I put myself in this situation, I'm 26. If my mum was saying some sort of things about my dad, say they'd split up, and then, I was saying in my head, oh, okay, fine, I'll have these opinions because of my mum. No, that wouldn't happen. You can't be influenced at that sort of age to that extent where you're saying that sort of stuff to your mum. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, Opie has said in the comments down below that they, that is her children, think that I'm basically rubbing it in my ex's face and theirs, that I never cared about him because I couldn't be bothered to fix myself up until after we were divorced. I explained that it just had to do with the time and the bandwidth that I now have, that I'm single, my kids are grown up, but they aren't buying it. I know, of course, the ex doesn't go back. The kids just think that I deserve to be alone and frumpy, I guess, because I wasn't a perfect wife in my marriage. Your kids are just stupid. How can you, unless, and again, with all these stories, we almost, 99% of the time, we only get one side of it. So you do have to bear that in mind a little bit, because it does seem pretty ludicrous that your kids are just suddenly jumping to these crazy conclusions. But let's just take this at face value. Do they not understand the part that you've had to play in their lives? Or how much time it takes to be pretty much, it sounds to me as if you were the only one raising your children. What are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing here? But there we go. That is going to do it for this episode. Again, get your comments in on that last one. What's happened there to make the kids act like this? Who knows? I really would love to know, but there we go. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my inheritance with a sibling? Hello, Reddit. I don't have anyone I can share these thoughts with in person, so I'm hoping you guys can help me resolve this. I, a 20-year-old man, am a single child, or at least I thought I was. Just over a year ago, I discovered that I have a sister, Lucy. The story goes that my mother had a child with her first boyfriend while she was in college, and they couldn't support her, so she opted for adoption at birth. My father was aware of this, but I was never told. Anyway, about a year ago, she made contact with our mother. They've gotten on pretty well. They keep in touch and go on the odd lunch. Lucy's also attended a couple of our family events this past year. Her and I get along fine as well. We're different people, so we're not friends, so I sort of see her as an acquaintance or friend of the family, I guess. It's a little odd because I know we're closely related, but at the same time, she doesn't feel like family, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's the backstory. Now, on to the dilemma. My grandparents on my mother's side both passed a few years ago. My mother was their only child, and I their only, in quotes, grandchild, and they left their entire estate to me. This was known to my parents and me before they passed, as they had expressed it when they made their will. My parents are well off financially. My mum's a nurse, dad's a doctor, and so they were fine with the arrangement. I was given access to the money on my 20th birthday, and the sum of money was much larger than I expected, totaling around 6 million. This is why I can't really talk about this with anyone impartial, because I don't really want friends, etc. to know. Anyway, a few weeks ago, my mother sat me down and asked me to share the money with Lucy. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, to me, Lucy is essentially an acquaintance. I know we're related by blood, but I don't exactly feel the type of connection to her that would merit giving her such a large sum of money, or any money at all for that matter. So I explained that to my mother, and she wasn't exactly happy with my answer. She believes that I am being extremely selfish and that Lucy could very much benefit from this money as well, since she's still a college student and in debt. Now here's why I think I might be the jerk. I don't really see that as my problem. I believe family is who feels like family, not who shares your DNA. Secondly, my grandparents were aware of Lucy's existence, even though they never met her, and they chose to leave everything to me all the same. Also, it's not as though Lucy grew up poor in the foster system or anything. She was adopted at birth by what seems like two great people. Her adoptive parents are an accountant and a teacher. P.S. I do not plan to just hoard the money. I'm starting law school this year, and I plan to use it to start my own firm once I'm finished. So go forth and judge me, please. Am I being a selfish jerk here, or am I justified in thinking that simply being related by blood doesn't merit any claim here? Okay, so there we go. That is it for the first story. And in my opinion, this one is pretty clear cut. You're not the jerk here at all. Your grandparents were fully aware of Lucy's existence, and they chose not to leave her an inheritance. They chose to leave it to you. That's their choice, right? So even if it was the other way around and you were sort of shocked by that, like, it's their choice. It's their inheritance. Like, it's their money, right? Their assets. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not up to you to decide where that goes, in my opinion. Like, even if you thought it was unfair yourself, which you don't, and you're right, by the way, like, you know, it's what's been left to you in their will, and it's their will, not yours. I mean, I wouldn't feel bad about this at all as well, from a moral or like emotional standpoint too. Lucy hasn't been involved in your life or your grandparents' lives at all. So why would they give any money to her? And why would you feel the need to give any money to her? Like, I get it. You are related, but that's it. Like, if you've barely even met her or like chatted to her much in your life, you say you're just essentially acquaintances with her, you wouldn't give any money to an acquaintance. So I don't see the difference here. Now for our next inheritance themed question. Am I the jerk for not giving my cousin my grandmother's house after she passed? I am a 27-year-old male and my grandmother passed recently. In her will, she left me her 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. Now, before my grandmother passed, she was in danger of losing the house because of unpaid taxes. She asked various family members for help, but none did. I was in college at the time and I had a huge student refund. She asked me for $1,500 to settle the debt. She said thank you, and we never talked about it again. I didn't want my granny to be homeless after all. That was about 8 years ago. Fast forward to today, and I'm now the owner of a house in the heart of Atlanta. Prime real estate, if I do say so myself. I plan on moving in at the end of the month before doing some light cleaning and renovation. Enter my cousin
and her kids. She is upset with me because I got the house. She said because I don't have any kids, I should give her the house because in her eyes, I got the house for free. I thought she was crazy, but a lot of our family is on her side, stating that it's hard out here for a single mother. They told me I can buy a house one day because I'm an able-bodied young man. It will be harder for her because she has 2 kids. I'm like, well, she chose to have those kids and that isn't my problem. Everyone's calling me selfish and heck, maybe I am, but my grandmother wanted me to have the house. So, am I the jerk? Well, my question here is, where was she when your grandma was about to be homeless? Like, you were the one that stepped up and gave her money that you probably didn't really have. I'm not 100% sure what a huge student refund means. Does that mean like a loan, or like you had a debt and you still gave up $1,500? Doesn't really matter. You completely deserve this, just like the first story. And no, your cousin isn't going to get any, and nor do they deserve any. Also, we've seen this before. This whole thing about, oh, you don't have kids, therefore you don't need a big house, etc. Like, that's not a thing. If you've chosen not to have kids, or even if you've not chosen not to have kids, if you just don't have kids, it doesn't mean that you should require less money or even arguably less space. Like, your decision to not have kids means that you're not going to have to spend loads of money on kids, right? Unlike someone that has loads of kids, they're going to have less money, but that was their decision. There's no, in my opinion, right for someone to have a bigger property just because they have more kids and have chosen to have more kids. I just don't think that's very fair at all, because that's like saying, well, you don't have kids, therefore you're going to live in a flat for the rest of your life and you're not allowed to have a house because everyone that's got kids should have the houses. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you sum it up well at the end. You say she chose to have those kids and that isn't my problem. Exactly right. That does not make you selfish, by the way. If anything, it makes her selfish. Again though, like, your grandma wanted you to have the house. Same as in the first story where OP's grandparents wanted everything to go to OP. Again, that's their decision. Now for our third post. Am I the jerk for embarrassing my stepdad in front of his family, saying he's in my house? For the past few months, I, a 17-year-old man, haven't had a good relationship with my mum or stepdad. I'm angry at them because 2 years ago, when my dad passed away, he left me inheritance that I'm supposed to get on my 18th birthday. I'm also getting survivor's benefits that my mum uses for me when I need things, so it's not like she used this inheritance for me. They bought a house that we moved into. It was weird for me because we always lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. My stepdad is a substitute teacher and my mum's a part-time receptionist. They never even had enough to go for a vacation or something, but all of a sudden they had a large house out of nowhere. My mum looked guilty about it until she finally admitted they used some of what my dad left me to buy the house. I lost my mind. They tried to justify that it was for me too, and I asked them, well, does that mean they're moving out when I'm 18 and the house is going to be in my name? And they're like, no. So yeah, that's what I thought. Supposedly the house was for me, but the max time I would have lived there was a few months. There's still some money left if I went to a cheap college, but I still can't believe they used my money for something on themselves. That amount could have helped me get my own dang house. I also think it's funny since my stepdad didn't even like my dad, because since I was spending more time with him, that meant my mum had to pay a little in child support. But he doesn't care using the money he left for me. I'm sorry this is a bit of a rant, but I'm asking if I was a jerk last Saturday. His family all came to stay at the house. They stayed Friday night, so it was the next morning when I'm getting ready to go for work. I made myself eggs in a hurry before I left, and my stepdad asked how come there wasn't more for his family. And I told him it's because I'm already leaving for work. There's not going to be enough time to make something for everyone. He acted like it's not a big deal if I'm a little late, since it's rare they have people over at the house. We got into a back and forth because I'm not going to stop to make breakfast when he can do it himself. Then he pulled the "don't talk to me like that in my house." By the way, there's no door in the kitchen and that leads right to the living room, so everyone could hear this. I said loudly, actually it's my house since you paid for it with my money, and don't forget that you stole from me. My mum is expecting me to apologise for embarrassing him in front of his whole family because after I left, they all had stuff to say about it. They'd already gone home by the time I got home, but you could feel the tension. He straight up ignored me, that's how bad it was. I don't feel like there's anything for me to apologise for, so that's where she thinks I'm not being a good son and kind of a jerk. I want to know if others feel the same. Now, this one I have serious problems with because you've got to get lawyers involved, in my opinion, right? Something's gone wrong here. I don't really know exactly how they've managed to do this. Your mum and stepdad, that is. But that isn't their money. Maybe it's because you're under 18. I'm sure that must be the reason. But if your dad structured his will properly, then there should be no way that legally this has been allowed, right? Because like, how can your mum just misuse the funds that are in your name, or at least are going to be in your name very soon when you turn 18, into buying a house, or, you know, just using it for her and her new husband's personal benefit? Something must have gone wrong here. So definitely get a lawyer involved. In the immediate term, like, yeah, you're right, it is your house, but legally I just want to make sure that it definitely is. So yeah, this one's probably more serious than the previous two. I think you just need to get a lawyer involved as quickly as you possibly can and make sure that although you're saying it's your house, it actually legally is your house, and all the money that's been promised to you is going to actually go to you. Am I the jerk for not wanting to give my wealthier sister the lion's share of the inheritance? Yesterday, my parents sat me, a 31-year-old man, my two brothers, who are 32 and 34, and my sister, who is 41, down to discuss their will. My parents informed us that they want to split it 5 ways. My sister gets 2/5, while the 3 of us brothers get 1/5. Their reasoning is that my sister sacrificed her childhood for our family, so it's only fair she gets compensated. In our childhood, my father's business partner screwed him over, so there was a period where we were broke and in debt. My parents had to work multiple jobs to keep us afloat, and my sister babysat us while our parents worked. All she had to do was feed us and keep an eye on us. We were pretty calm kids, so all we did was play games and do our homework. Yeah, it probably wasn't thrilling, but not exactly a tremendous hardship. I complained to my parents along with my brothers that it's insane they want to give my sister 2/5 of the inheritance over that, especially since she's financially the best off out of all of us. She doesn't have any kids and a dual income with her partner. My parents said they're disappointed in us and said we need to reflect on ourselves. My sister didn't say anything while my parents spoke, but texted us afterwards that she had zero intention of taking 2/5, but we were all jerks. Am I the jerk for feeling like this split is unfair? Wow, that is a tough one. Okay, I think we have our first jerk of this episode. I'm a little bit hesitant to say it, but I think this sounds completely fine. 2/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5 for a woman/girl who was 7 years old when her first brother was born, then 9, then 10 years old. So you gotta imagine that she has sacrificed a lot of her formative, or at least like teenage years, where other teenagers would probably be having much more fun, much more freedom, etc. But she's had to babysit you, 3 boys who were, as I said, 7, 9, and 10 years younger than her, while your parents all worked. I think her getting an extra 5th compared to you guys is completely fair. Like, if anything, she could even be getting more. I love the fact that your sister said she doesn't have an intention of taking the 2/5. It shows she's a very selfless person. I think we could have told that anyway, but from your perspective, I agree with your parents. Like, I'd be disappointed in you too. How can you not understand from her point of view how much she sacrificed? And that point you made, or that sentence that you wrote about, well, she didn't really do that much. All she had to do was feed us and keep an eye on us. We were pretty calm kids. No, that's just like, there's no all she had to do there. Feed 3 young boys and keep an eye on you. And also, there's no way that 3 young boys were calm kids that only played games and did homework. Like, it's just not a reality. Maybe it's the reality that you remember, but it's not real. So yeah, I think 2/5 is the least that she should get. And once again, it doesn't matter how much money someone has now. I don't think. I mean, maybe it does a little bit. Maybe it does. But I just don't necessarily think that, because someone's got more money now, they deserve less of a will, less inheritance. Like, I think it should be based on sort of what they've done in their life. And you know, it's down to the person again. It's down to
OP's parents in this situation, how much they want to give and how much they value the time and the sacrifice that their daughter made. And now for our final Am I the Jerk inheritance themed post. Am I the jerk for not sharing my inheritance with the rest of my family? My family situation is messy. I, a 25-year-old woman, was engaged 4 years ago to my high school sweetheart. My fiance cheated on me with my sister, she's 28. We'd never had a good relationship, even as kids, so after I found out, I went scorched earth on both of them. She was, quote, so in love with my fiance, but he dumped her within 2 weeks and was back trying to get me to forgive him. I didn't. My parents were initially on my side, but my sister had a nervous breakdown after she was dumped and was hospitalized. So they changed their tune to, quote, it's over now and you can't be mad forever. So I dumped them too and went to grad school on the other side of the country. My grandfather was livid with the whole thing, disowned my sister and chewed out my parents. Sometimes it felt like he was the only one who was on my side and understood. I was able to get my job to let me work remotely and move back to take care of him when he got sick last fall, and I was devastated when he passed a couple of months ago. I'd been in limited contact with my parents since I came back, mostly because I didn't want to be an obstacle to my dad seeing my grandfather, but with the understanding that any discussion of my sister or what happened would end that. Well, it turns out that my grandfather left me virtually everything. He left enough for my father to cover a debt and some token stuff for a couple of the other relatives, but he wrote a letter for everyone and did a videotape with his attorney explaining what his intentions were. I knew that he'd done well for himself, but he lived a pretty simple lifestyle, so I didn't realize how much money and assets he really had. I would give it all up, by the way, to have my papa back, but even after taxes, it is set for life money. My parents are pretty mad about it. One of the reasons stated for cutting them out was how disappointed my grandfather was with how they treated me growing up versus my sister and over the fiancé debacle. There were other reasons, but that's what they're fixated on. The will is pretty airtight apparently, so my parents want me to do the right thing and share it equally between me, them and my sister. Their argument is that I don't need it. I make more than both of them combined, and this would allow them to retire. My sister's not doing great and can't hold a job, so this would ensure she has something for when my parents pass. I don't want to. My grandfather's wishes were crystal clear, and also I kind of don't feel like doing more than the minimum for any of them. They've been telling me that I am being vindictive because of a mistake years ago. I can't deny there might be a little vindictiveness there. I don't want them to suffer necessarily, but I also don't feel like they deserve my help. Well, you said it right there. Your grandfather's wishes were crystal clear, and that is the answer. Like, there's no real discussion here. You don't have to do anything because, as you said, like, your grandfather's wishes were crystal clear. Simple as that. It shows that your parents are, once again, like, pretty bad people. They're trying to emotionally manipulate you into going against what your grandfather wanted, which, by the way, is so bad. Like, your granddad's dead. He can't even speak for himself anymore, but your parents are trying to guilt trip you and gaslight you and manipulate you into maybe thinking that your grandfather meant differently or, you know, made a mistake, whatever. Like, it's insane. Your parents did very little to patch up these relationships while your grandfather was alive. They didn't, and therefore they're suffering the consequences. And you are the beneficiary of having a great relationship with your granddad. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this inheritance family drama themed episode. Although, I did say at the top of this one that I would give you guys a little story of my own. Now, if you've been around on my channel for a while and you've listened to a lot of these episodes, you will probably know that I've been very fortunate with my family. Well, I am very fortunate with my family. There is a distinct lack of drama and sort of anything bad, really, that's ever happened in my life with my family. And I know I'm extremely fortunate to be able to say that. However, there was one occasion once. Now, I am called a Mauritian. My surname, Ukiah, is Mauritian, from the country of Mauritius. It's where my granddad was born. Sadly, he is no longer with us. However, his mother, who also was no longer with us, had a pretty big inheritance, I suppose, or a pretty decently sized estate to give away. Now, she had a lot of brothers and sisters and just general extended family, their kids, of course. And I remember one time at one of her parties, I don't know what it was, maybe like her 90-something, maybe even her 90th, there was a little bit of a fracas outside between two likely Mauritian lads who were actually having a scrap. I don't know who they were. I think they're like great uncles or uncles of mine. But they were fighting over some inheritance because I think one of them didn't like the fact that the other one was getting more money in Nana's will. My great-grandmother's will. So that's sort of it. You know, it can happen. And it was pretty interesting to see. It was a long time ago. I didn't really know what was going on, but it happens. That's probably the only drama that I've ever experienced in my family, which is, again, pretty amazing to be able to say. But yeah, I don't really know what happened at the end of that, but it happened. Not really as interesting as the other stories that I've read today, but there you go. Hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Am I the jerk for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex, despite her having cancer as a teenager? This was posted on September 28th, 2021. I am a 25-year-old woman, and my father married my stepsister's mother, my stepsister is 23, when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together most of our lives and are a family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. She's since made a full recovery. During that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so I could get a job. The money went towards her medical bills, and so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I'm a junior. We fall in love, blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious until July, when I walked into my bedroom and saw him having sex with my sister. I broke it off. Tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then backed off. I thought she was giving me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmo'd me asking me for the money. She told my parents, who then called me to their house, telling me how disappointed in me they are for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together, that would also mean that I should have bad social skills as well, by that logic. Then they told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter and they should understand my point of view, but they're adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I'm not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship and I do feel betrayed, but Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm upset about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me, that she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now, no one in my immediate family is talking to me, and I'm getting messages from aunts and uncles and cousins telling me that I'm a jerk and a selfish female dog. Now, as you can imagine, guys, there were a lot of very positive comments left on the original post here, and OP added a little edit saying, "Thank you everyone so much for your comments. This has gotten more attention than I expected and I'm having trouble keeping up. So if I don't say thank you, then thank you. I've been given a lot of food for thought. To be honest, while I've had moments where I've been resentful or upset about my teenage years, I've always thought that I did the right thing for my sister and for my family. And that time wasn't all miserable. I was very close to my sister and we made things as fun as we could. But I didn't think of it as an abdication of my parents' responsibilities or that they were doing wrong by me, which many of you pointed out. I definitely have a lot to think about. Thank you again for making me feel less crazy about all of this." Yeah, that is the one thing that I think I picked out there. How can your parents possibly be blaming you for this? It's just not right that your parents made you sacrifice so much stuff and then now are like, well, your sister had cancer. She doesn't have any social skills. Like, what? It should be the other way around. Like, you should be the one that's getting at least a little bit of leeway now that your sister is better, in my opinion. OP then posted a short update saying, sometimes you can only laugh. I just got off the phone with my cousin who saw this post and said that he could explain a few things. I asked him why he was on Reddit at school, and he asked me why I was on Reddit instead of work, and I said touche. He told me that after my conversation with my mum, she went to his house and talked to my aunt, and here is the deal. It turns out my sister is not only in a relationship with Ben, but is 4 months pregnant, which means that she and Ben were effing for longer than I'd even guessed. Apparently, my parents are so adamant that I forgive her because I'm already ruining their experience of their first grandchild. That's right, I'm less important than my stepmom posting ultrasounds to Facebook. This is where we're at. Anyhow, I called out of work sick the rest of the day, and I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol, like a lot of alcohol, and then start thinking about what the F I'm going to do. Now, guys, you might be expecting me to say, oh no, don't do that. You know, drinking copious amounts of alcohol is not good for you from a health perspective. And yeah, that's right, but I'm not going to say that. In fact, I'm going to say the actual opposite. Go and drink as much alcohol as you possibly can without causing yourself long-term health issues, of course. Because when you get hit with news like this, sometimes that's the right thing to do. Go and get battered. And I mean that. I just do not think that that is a legitimate excuse. Oh, I had cancer when I was younger, therefore I have no social skills and I've slept and got pregnant with my sister's boyfriend and have been, you know, doing stuff behind her back for at least 4 months. Now, don't get me wrong, like, obviously, I would never wish cancer on anyone, especially not on a child, and it's a horrible thing. I get that. But it shouldn't be used as some sort of excuse later on in life for horrific actions like this. And it also shouldn't be the reason, if it can be helped, that is, as to why another child, you know, this child's sibling, can't live a normal teenage life themselves. I mean, is it really necessary that one sibling gives up literally their entire childhood just because their sibling has cancer? I feel like something is happening there with the parents and they are not sacrificing enough themselves, or I don't know. Like, it just seems weird. Like, I get it. Obviously, if my sister had cancer, that would completely change my life and I would have to sacrifice a lot of things. But I don't think I would have to sacrifice my entire livelihood. And, you know, for me, stop doing any exercise or stop running or playing football or that sort of stuff to be with her 24/7. Like, I'd expect my parents, which obviously they would, to take on a lot of the brunt of the work as well. It shouldn't be down to OP to just sacrifice her entire teenage years, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, on that, OP has given an update. Of course, there are a couple more to get into, but the first proper one, came on October the 6th, 2021. I was asked for an update, and thus here I am. 2 things to clarify before though. I didn't have a trashy childhood. The favoritism started when my sister was diagnosed. I moved out soon after and have been pretty independent since then. Not saying that how my parents treated me during those years was okay, but I wasn't Cinderella. Also, I did not drink myself into oblivion. I had 2 white wine spritzers, but I appreciate the concern from folks. Yeah, no concern from me. And I'm actually being serious. I'm sorry, but 2 white wine spritzers after news like that, that's just not enough in my opinion. Anyhow, the actual update. I got in touch with my sister and asked her to meet up again at a park. No bill involved. I asked her if she was pregnant, and she told me the truth. She said she wanted us to still be in each other's lives and that she wanted me to be in her babies. A Redditor, and I forget who, I'm sorry, mentioned that she may ask me to be the godmother, and that person was correct. But as many of you pointed out, if I didn't cut her off, I'd just become her bank and daycare employee. So I told her I could no longer be in her life. And I left her crying on a park bench and felt like the worst person in the world. Sorry, you felt like the worst person in the world. May I just remind you that your sister was having an affair with your boyfriend behind your back for at least 4 months and is now pregnant with your ex-boyfriend's baby and is in love with him, and you're the trashy person. I emailed my parents and told them how betrayed I felt and that I'd be cutting off contact with them. To my stepmom's credit, she apologized. She explained that she never thought my sister would live to have kids and that she let her emotion over that get the better of her. Sure, understandable. My dad said nothing, which is honestly what sucked the most about all of this. Ben tried messaging me from a burner account for the first time since the breakup, but I blocked him without reading it. I didn't go nuclear and post the story to Facebook as some suggested, but I sent an email to the extended family members who I care about. I explained the situation and how I'd be distancing myself from my family. Some have made it an us versus them situation, and as much as I appreciate the support, feeling like I'm in some valiant battle just makes me more tired. So I've not been talking to much of anyone in my family. I feel lonely and trashy, but I think I made the right decision. Anyhow, not the most exciting update in the world, but hopefully everyone knows that I'm not dead. I do really appreciate the support I've gotten. It made me smile during a really bad time. And hey, if anyone in the greater Boston area wants an extra guest at Thanksgiving, let me know. Now, quick update on that, posted a month or so later, November the 24th. Hi. Some people were interested in an update, so I'm spending Thanksgiving with a friend and her family, so I won't be alone. Thanks to everyone who offered to host me, it was so sweet. I'm still not in touch with my family, but I know that Ben and my sister are having problems. I know this because he showed up at my place and cried for 3 hours. Wow, that's so tragic, sorry. I'm going to New Mexico in April. Planning is underway. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. Now, let's jump forward to 2022, New Year's Day, and oh my goodness, how about this for a title? I think my old ex sabotaged my relationship with my new ex. Wow. To make a long story short, my breakup last summer with my ex was volcanic. He is now expecting a baby with my stepsister within the next 6 weeks or so. Since I found out about the pregnancy, he's tried to get in touch with me 6 times through email, text, burner accounts. He's tried to get mutual friends to talk to me for him and showed up to my place once. The latter was the only time I humoured him. He told me he was very sorry, he loves me, he doesn't want to be with my stepsister and wants to get back together with me. Wow. I told him, tough titties. He made his bed and now he's got to lay in it with her. I haven't dated much since July because of my life's implosion, but in November, a friend from college messaged me out of the blue. We hadn't talked in a long time. He is a 27-year-old guy and will be referred to as ex number 2 for the rest of the post. And Ben, my ex number 1, were good friends, but had a falling out over something fantasy football related the year after we graduated, and I stopped talking to him out of solidarity or whatever. Some of you guys may not know this, but I actually do have another YouTube channel, or I run another YouTube channel all about fantasy football, so that's why I laughed. Anyhow, we go on a date, we click, we go on a few more dates, we become exclusive in early December. I was feeling really hopeful about this until this morning. I was supposed to meet my second ex at a New Year's party last night. He got there before I left the house and texted me saying that my first ex was at the party and asked whether I still wanted to come. I declined and went to another friend's house and had a pretty good time. I tried calling my second ex at midnight, but he didn't pick up. I didn't think much about it. It's also important to remember throughout this that at the time, second ex is not second ex, he is current boyfriend. Anyhow, I go to bed late and when I wake up this morning, I have a message from current boyfriend saying we're done. Now, second ex. I couldn't even respond because he'd blocked me everywhere. I talked to a friend who was at the party the exes were at last night, and he said the two of them had spent a good chunk of time chatting with each other, but he didn't know what they were talking about. I'm not close with anyone else who was at the party, so I don't really have anyone else to ask. Like, okay, it was a 2-month-old relationship. I'm sad, but I'm not bereft. But the paranoid part of my mind is really concerned that my first ex said something that resulted in my second ex becoming my second ex. My second ex has made it abundantly apparent that he doesn't want to talk to me again, and I don't want to push that boundary, but I'm so confused. I could contact my first ex, but I get the feeling that will open a floodgate of drama. I could also try talking to other mutual friends to see if they've heard anything, but I also don't really want to spread this as a rumor if it wasn't true. I don't know, I'm at a loss. Any advice here? I'm spiraling, thinking that my ex is going to try to ruin every relationship I have for the rest of my life. Well, my immediate reaction to that is that if there were no issues beforehand, and this has come out of the blue, which to us, unless there's like a lot of context missing, it seems as if it has, then yeah, That conversation, and it sounds like it was a pretty long one, obviously has sparked this. And therefore, your first ex has sabotaged this relationship. Simple as that. Let's get into an update though and see what happened next. Okay, this next one was posted on January the 16th, so a couple of weeks later. I'm beginning to think that there's something wrong with me. Never the best title to read, that. My last 2 partners have cheated on me. The first was a very serious relationship. We lived together, we talked about marriage and buying a house. He even took 2 pictures of us as kids and photoshopped them together to show what our kids might look like one day. The result was terrifying but hilarious, and I had it as the background of my phone for a month. I walked in on him sleeping with my stepsister. Now, she's pregnant, due in the near future, and he's with her. I know he's not happy. I know he regrets what he did. I know that he loved me. And none of that stopped him from effing my stepsister in our bed. I've spent so long now being upset at her and writing him off as just a bad decision that I wasted time on, but now I find myself mourning what we had. My stepsister and I grew up together and have loved each other most of our lives, so it felt like that was the betrayal. But he and I chose each other. Out of all the people on earth, we looked each other in the eyes, committed to each other, and made the promise to stay faithful. And he lied. And he lied, and he lied, and he lied. And he let me go on loving him while he lied. And then a few months ago, another guy comes into my life, and for the first time in ages, I felt hopeful. I thought to myself that maybe I could actually move on and live my life. I wasn't in love with him, but he was the kind of man I thought I could fall in love with. We were exclusive for about a month. Before we made the decision to be exclusive, I told him everything that had happened with my first ex and told him that I could never be with another cheater. I wake up on New Year's Day to that text saying we're done. When I tried getting in touch, I found out he'd blocked me everywhere. Well, it turns out that he met someone at a New Year's party and hooked up with her. Instead of telling me, he just blocked me everywhere and sent a lackey to message me a few weeks later with the real story and a half-assed apology. I want to be angry, and maybe a part of me is, but as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking, what if it's me? What if I'm just not lovable? What if it's never going to happen for me? The thing is, I've been a pretty confident person. I went through BS as a kid, but I got through it and grew stronger. I'm pretty good looking. Although I've admittedly put on a little weight in the past couple of weeks. I've been told that I'm fun, I hold down a good job and make decent money. I also live my life according to my values. I've always put my family and partner first because that's just how I believed it should be done, and I thought that I would be prioritized in turn. I've lost most of my family because they'd rather have my stepsister's baby in their life than me. My friends have been fair weather for the most part, and I know that I'm a laughingstock in my friend group as much as they pretend to pity me to my face. That's horrible. That's maybe the most horrible thing of all. I sort of agree with you. Like, you don't choose your family, you didn't choose your stepsister, but you do choose the people that you spend a lot of your life with. Be that your partner, be that your friends, and for them to all be doing this and ridiculing you behind your back, if that is true, that is shocking. Anyway, OP continues. I feel the little spark I've always had fading. I don't chime in on conversations anymore. I've stopped putting on cute clothes when I go out. I don't plan anything, so I don't have anything to be disappointed about. Soon, I'll be the same age as my mum when she died. I never knew her, but I've always loved her, thinking of her watching over me. I don't remember the funeral, but it was one of those where there wasn't a dry eye in the house. She lit up a room, people tell me. She was a good woman. In my worst moments, I wonder what it would be like if I died right now. Would anyone cry? Would anyone care? Would anyone even come? Anyway, sorry for writing a novella, just not sure what to do anymore and who to talk to. If you read all of this, thank you. Now, don't worry guys, there is another update that came quite a lot longer on, quite a lot later, May the 30th, 2022. So just in case anyone was worried about OP's well-being and health, she's okay. But I've got to say, this is not like an overreaction at all. It's just, looking at this objectively, a very, very rational response to what's happened. And you've got to remember, this is posted on January the 16th. So very, very soon after. And obviously OP is questioning everything and is, yeah, probably pretty depressed about the whole situation. And it's very, very normal to think in the way that OP has done. But yeah, let's move on now to May and see if things have improved. Hello folks, I thought that things on the internet died after a couple of days, so colour me surprised when I still get requests for updates on the regular. Long story short, I don't have much to update. I didn't end up going to New Mexico because I conveniently got COVID the week before I was supposed to go. The baby was had, but I've had no contact with the baby or their parents. I've done a pretty good job of insulating myself from news about them and the rest of my family. My life is pretty much the same as it was. So sorry to the folks who are hoping I have some kind of happy ending to slap onto all of this. Things are improving just because time barrels on and you can grow numb to most anything given enough time and distance. But I've had no grand revelations, I've not met the love of my life, nor had elaborate revenge on those who have wronged me. Oh, that was sort of what I was hoping for. I jest. I'm going to Europe for the first time in October though, so that is exciting. I will say this. While I appreciate the solidarity and sometimes colourful language used to describe my sister and Ben in my DMs, I wholeheartedly ask everyone reading this not to waste their energy on hating them. They're now parents to a newborn, and regardless of the things they've done in the past, I hope they can come together as a happy family and raise their child in a loving, healthy home. Hating them doesn't do anything for anyone, including ourselves, in the long run. Anyway, that's the non-update update. I promise that if I meet the love of my life at the top of the Eiffel Tower, or more likely stuffing my face with waffles in Bruges, I will post another update. Until then, you can assume that I am living, trying my best, and I'm very appreciative of all of the people out there in the world who have read this saga and reached out with support, even if I've not had the energy to respond to everyone. Very nice words there from OP. However, let's carry on, because OP left a very small update in the comments of that post in October of 2022, saying, "Hi, just wanted to give a more recent, less depressing update. I'm currently in my hotel room in Paris, eating a creme brulee in bed, reading a romance novel, and about to go to sleep early. All is well." And that's it. A really good update, but not a very long one. So let's get into the next one. A month later, 9th of September, oh my goodness, not a month later. Over a year later, well, under a year later, but a year later, the 9th of September, 2023. Hello. So, it's been a minute, but I still get messages from folks asking how I've been, and I'm up too early and a little bored, so I thought I'd give you the answer. I'm good. I made a lot of really positive changes in my life, and I'm in a much better place, physically and mentally, than I was last year. To answer some specific questions, no, I'm not in contact with my family. The last straw was in spring of 2022. My dad emailed me to ask if we could get lunch and talk. Me, having always harboured the secret and foolish hope that we'd reconcile and go back to normal, agreed. I arrived at the restaurant and waited 2 hours. When my server gave me a free dessert on the house with a pitying look, I called it and went home. Later, I got an email from my stepmom, which I'm sure was full of excuses, but I didn't read it. Wow. I mean, that is actually ridiculous, by the way. Like, so ridiculous. Asking you to reconcile and then just not even showing up. What? Who does that? Anyway, the really positive outcome of that was that made me realise that I needed to move far away and not come back, which I did. I'd always been really scared to move away from my family, but since I don't have one anymore, I ended up somewhat spontaneously moving halfway across the country. The spontaneous move was stressful and expensive, but I can now say that moving was one of the best decisions of my life. I ended up reconnecting with an old friend and falling in with her friend group, who are the loveliest people. I've never felt safer or more supported, and I feel so lucky to have them in my life. And it's less humid here. That's a big win. One of our friends is a counsellor who helped me find a therapist that I really click with. And it took a few tries and a therapist who didn't immediately want to do CBT with me, which just isn't my thing, but I found someone I really connect with. I'm now doing IFS therapy, and it's really changed my relationship with myself and helped me realize all of the hurt and pain I've been holding on to and start to heal. Now, what is IFS therapy? It's internal family systems therapy. Interesting. Used as an evidence-based psychotherapy, helping people heal by accessing and healing their protective and wounded inner parts. Okay, interesting. So, you all were right, and I needed to go to therapy. Give yourselves a pat on the back for that one. I also got diagnosed with depression, and I'm taking medicine for that. It was a bit hard to stomach as someone who always saw her value as being the happy person who takes care of everyone all the time, But it turns out that sometimes when your needs aren't met as a kid, you end up becoming the happy person who takes care of everyone all the time because you're afraid that if you show the slightest bit of unhappiness, you won't be loved anymore. And that is effed up. I also met a guy. And I know you're all saying, OP, no, your decision making around men cannot be trusted, but I assure you that he's different. By the way, I don't think anyone in the comments would be saying that. You've just been unlucky. Anyway, instead of rolling his eyes when I'm feeling off, he'll either just quietly lay on the couch with me or go for a walk, or he'll say really dirty things to me in his spot-on Kermit the Frog voice until I'm laughing so hard I can't focus on anything else. And bonus, he's far too busy painting D&D minis to find the time to cheat on me, so I'm not even worried about that. I did have to invest in a somewhat elaborate Renaissance fair costume, which is not something I'd imagined for myself, but I'm having a great time. I'm gonna marry this dude someday. As for Ben and my sister, as far as I know, they're still together. Every so often, she tries to get in touch with some manner of burner account, but I ignore all of it. I'm still bummed that I'm not going to be a part of my nibbling's life, and I do, honestly, still really miss my family, but I know this is right for me. Sorry I don't have any salacious info on them, since I know you're all really here to hear about their karmic downfall or whatever. But on my end, things are good. Better than they were before I found out I was being cheated on. My current life is built on real contentment, not fear disguised as shallow happiness. It's not perfect, and I have a lot of problems that I'm working through, but I'm proud of myself, and I think my mum would be too. So that is the update. Honestly, what a woman. Can I just say, she's unbelievable. And also, you write so well, it's a genuine privilege to read. Like, a couple of those sentences there were joyful to read. Any salacious info, if you want to hear about their karmic downfall, I mean, that is just phenomenal verbiage. But nonetheless, what a woman OP is all I can say, really. Anyway, she continues. I think this is going to be my last post, at least on this account. Thank you, Reddit, for supporting me and making me smile through some of the worst, weirdest points in my life. May you too be blessed with internet strangers who cheer you on and offer to sabotage the lives of the people who do you wrong. Now, you may have thought that would be the last post. It was a nice ending, perhaps. But no, somebody in the comments said this. Girl, no. We need more juice. I hope you'll keep posting about your life when you get married or have kids. I'm so happy for you. A few days ago, while scrolling through Reddit, I randomly remembered your post and I was thinking, what's going on? I'm sorry your deadbeat dad failed you, but don't worry. He will have his wake-up call someday. I hope those trashy family members of yours are blocked. As for Ben and your stepsis, I have a tinge of feeling that the reason she's trying to contact you is because she messed up with Ben. I'm glad you're doing therapy. I wish you nothing but endless happiness and joy. I hope you build a nice family with that guy and have children with him. Or not, whatever you decide. As much as I want to get tea from your evil stepsis, it is good that you don't have any information about her or Ben. The further you stay away from them, the better. I am wondering why the stepsister is still bothering to contact OP though. Like, what does she need? Money? Yeah, that's actually quite a good shout. Probably just wanting to re-establish the relationship so she can feel good about herself. Like, see, we still talk. What I did wasn't that bad. Too bad for her. There are some things you just can't come back from. Now, that was the comment. And OP, after reading that, I think, may have felt obliged to give this little update, at least they called it a little update, on May 19th, 2024 now, saying, I'm engaged, which is just phenomenal news. What an end to this story. Oh, there is one last bit. She was told not to contact her family about it in the comments, but then she replied saying, well, I wasn't planning to, but they already found out because the internet is a menace. My dad's apparently having a total hissy fit because my fiance didn't ask his permission. What? Oh well, sucks to suck, I suppose. And there we go. You know what? That little bit at the end was great. Just sums the whole story up. Yes, how dare you not ask for my permission for a daughter that pretty much has disowned me's hand in marriage. You are an idiot. You're just an absolute clown. There we go. That is going to do it for this story. And I do have to say once again, like, that was so good to read. And OP's, I don't know, mindset and mentality throughout all of this and like her entire life, just her mindset and mentality in general is unbelievable. I wish I had a mindset and a mentality like that. And I also wish I could find other words or synonyms in my mind as I'm speaking live for mindset and mentality, but I just can't. So I'm going to keep using those exact words. But yeah, seriously, I know, like, if I was in this position, well, I don't know how I'd react, but I think I would, feel a lot more hatred, or at least I would probably act on my hatred a lot more. I would want to see the downfall, the karmic downfall of these characters. I don't think I could just be as, not chilled out, that's the wrong word, but I don't know, accepting perhaps of the whole situation as OP has been. And I think that is the right thing to do, because that is the way you move on quicker, rather than sort of lying in the resentment and hatred, which is what I would probably do, and I assume a lot of you listening and watching would do as well. But yeah, power to OP, just like mad respect, elite story, elite individual. Am I the jerk for punching my husband's ex-wife? My husband's ex-wife, who we will call Shelly, hates me, and I'm not a big fan of hers either. She is high conflict and has been putting my stepson in the middle of her rubbish since the beginning. She had him listen at our door and report back what I said. She even called CPS on me for having a medical marijuana card. Nothing came of it. She'll tell anyone that will listen that I stole her family from her and I destroyed her life. My husband had been divorced from her for 8 years when I met him. I just think that backstory is important. A couple of days ago, I took our daughter, who was 4, to the park in our subdivision to play. As I was pushing her on the swings, I saw Shelly pull up. I immediately grabbed my daughter and started walking back home. Shelly began to follow me and started yelling insults and threats at me. I dialed 911 and I told them what was going on, so we stayed on the line. She called my daughter a half-breed, I'm black and my husband is white, and then continued to follow me down the street hurling insults. I told her to leave us alone and I've called the police, but that just made her more aggressive. By that point I was in front of my house and my garage door was up, so I told my daughter to go inside and get her dad. I turn around and Shelly is running full speed towards me with her arm drawn back. I punched her dead in the throat. She fell on the ground and was gasping for air. I dropped to the ground to ask if she was okay, but she continued to try to swing at me as she gasped for air. The cops then arrived and put her in handcuffs because she started to fight them. They put us in separate areas and talked to us. She told them that I hit her first, but my husband was already outside with the footage ready to show the police. They asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. This is where people are saying I'm wrong. We live in a small town and people got wind of what happened, and almost everyone is saying I'm wrong because Shelly is 5'4", maybe 130 pounds, and I'm 5'10" and weigh about 180 and I weightlift. People are saying I should have gone easier on her and I could have really hurt her. They've also said that I've done enough and charges weren't necessary. Of course, my husband, my stepson and my family are on my side, but I've gotten some nasty messages from people in my town calling me a monster and a bully. I feel like I was just defending myself, but I want some unbiased opinions because now I feel like I might have taken it too far and I'm starting to doubt myself. So, am I the jerk here? Alright, let's get into some comments straight away before I give my thoughts and then we get into the update. Somebody said, "You're not the jerk. You were defending yourself against a physical threat and your actions were reasonable given the circumstances. Shelly's behaviour was unacceptable and she escalated the situation by following you, yelling insults and making threats. When she charged at you with her arm drawn back, you had every right to protect yourself. The criticism from people in your town seems misguided, focusing on your physical size and strength rather than the facts of the situation. The fact that Shelly is smaller than you doesn't mean you should have allowed her to attack you without defending yourself. It's also important to note that Shelly's behaviour has been problematic for a long time, including putting your stepson in the middle of her conflicts and making false reports to CPS. Her actions have shown a pattern of aggression and manipulation. You did the right thing by defending yourself and pressing charges. Don't let the opinions of others make you doubt your actions. You prioritize your safety and the safety of your child, and that is something to be proud of." Another commenter agreed, "You're not the jerk. Shelly is an idiot to try and swing on someone bigger, taller, and stronger than her. And why? Because you didn't react to her insults? Instead, you asked her to leave you alone and then called the cops. Had you not turned around and seen her running towards you, ready to hit you, she could have caused you great damage. Instead, you threw one punch to keep her away. Too bad your fist is at her throat level. She should have thought about that before she tried to attack you. Do not doubt yourself. You defended yourself from someone who intended to do you harm. You didn't continue to wail on her. You weren't the aggressor. She stepped on your property and threatened you and your child. The people in your town are idiots. Fight rumor with truth. Post the footage. Show the charges. You were within your rights, period. And I defy anyone to have been in the same position who wouldn't have gotten into a defensive mode like you did. Wow, what a comment. I agree with all of that, by the way. Somebody else said, not the jerk, it's all recorded from the time she approached you at the park and attacked you at your home. I wonder if it's possible to charge her with a hate crime. OP replied to this, they charged her with assault and I'm getting a restraining order. Somebody also said, OP should tell her husband to get full custody of his son, which is interesting. She replied saying, my stepson is 18 and has lived with us since he was 8. Wow, so her husband already does have full custody then. Well, I suppose maybe not, but he's lived with you for a long time now, which is good. And finally, somebody said, nope, you're not the jerk. She came at you while you were trying to keep your child safe. And 8 years, she needs to move on. It's a great point, really. But OP says, I don't think she ever will. My husband is a great guy, and she really did mess up. He truly loved her, but she was too toxic to accept it. Now, I think she has a lot of regrets. Her aggression definitely got worse after I had my daughter because she wanted a girl. Alright, I would normally give my thoughts here, but I feel like I completely agree with the comments. OP is not the jerk. It's very simple. This woman is crazy. So, there's no point. Let's just get into the update. Now, this was posted just one day after the original post. It hasn't even been 24 hours since my last post, but I feel you guys deserve an update and for me to clarify some things. Firstly, my daughter and I are okay, and thank you all so much for your support. My daughter heard what was said, but fortunately has no idea what it means. She also didn't see any of the physical violence that occurred. Secondly, Shelly is still in jail. Luckily for us, her family doesn't even like her, so no one's bailed her out. She also had a warrant, so she'll probably be sitting there for a while. Next, for everyone worried about my stepson. He's just my son in our house. Thank you so much for the concern, but he's 18 years old, and I've been his mother figure for the past 10. He knows his mum's antics, and he's in therapy, and he's okay. For the people that private messaged me to say that I alienated my stepson from his mum, well, shame on you. You guys have no idea what this kid has dealt with through the years, and he is so strong. I also would like to clarify that I did press charges. I spoke to my lawyer, who's my aunt, and she said I actually have plenty of evidence from over the years to sue Shelly for the emotional pain she's caused me, and I will be pursuing that. I'm going to make it hurt, so she knows that this behaviour will not be tolerated. I'm also in the process of getting a restraining order, which will not take long at all, given all of the evidence. Lastly, this whole situation has been so eye-opening about the lack of support I have living in this town. I've stayed because I thought it was best for my family, but after speaking with my husband and stepson, we all realised it's best for everyone if we move and start fresh. If anyone has suggestions of diverse places to move with a good school system for our daughter, please comment down below. I want to thank you all so much again for your help. I felt more support from strangers on the internet than I have from the community I've lived in for years. I will continue to keep you all updated with whatever I can as I continue the process. Let's just finish off with a couple of relevant comments. Somebody asked what was the reason for OP's husband's divorce from his ex, and unbelievably OP said she hit him in front of their son and fractured his eye socket. I mean, look, we already knew that Shelly was crazy, but yes, that is mental. Somebody else commented, make sure Shelly actually has enough assets and income to make suing her worth it. You know the old saying, you can't get blood out of a turnip. She sounds massively emotionally unregulated since she had a warrant out already. Emotionally unregulated people often can't hold jobs and really don't have money. OP says she is a master aesthetician with her own spa. She has money even though she says she doesn't. Somebody else commented, if you're willing to move to Scotland, we take kick butt mums just fine here. Other than that, I can't help. But you were absolutely right in what you did, and I agree, make it hurt. Teach the lesson that she best not come back for more. And somebody asked, based on OP's background, can she relocate to any city and find a job? OP says, I'm actually a private financial advisor, so I work from home mostly. My husband is an engineer and he can get work just about anywhere. Well, that is good to hear.
Okay, and there we go. That is a story for now, I suppose. Now, I feel like the comments here, the comments that I picked out, sort of covered the main points in terms of how crazy Shelley is, and yeah, the fact that she is just obviously slightly messed up in the head and is still, I don't know, living her old relationship and hoping that was still a thing. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't really need to comment anymore. It's obvious that OP is not the jerk here for what she did in defending herself on her property and defending her child. However, I do think that we need to talk a bit more about her neighborhood and how unsupportive and almost anti-OP they seem to be, and why that is. Now, I don't want to jump to any conclusions here, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to question why. Like, it's just strange that they're siding with somebody who is so obviously crazy over you. I think to side with someone, surely they must know about, like, I don't know, unless they've just heard down the grapevine that, oh, someone punched somebody in the throat and that's it. Surely you'd ask for more context there and be like, oh no, that's actually OP's husband's ex from years ago, and she's been sort of going after the new relationship for years. She hasn't moved on at all. She's pretty mental. Like, she's tried to get her son to do lots of things, etc, etc, etc. I do agree though with some of the comments, like, surely just show the footage and then be done with it, and you'd stop all the sort of like weird rumor and people going against you, which I can't quite work out why. Maybe there's more going on here, but like, surely if people know that she's been physically abusive for more than 10 years, that's enough for them to side with you, not her. I mean, I said I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I think you guys know what I mean there, but you know what, I will. OP is a black woman in a small town. Maybe that's all I need to say. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments down below, but yes, it does sound like you should probably move to a town that is a little more inclusive. Okay, now moving on to our second story of this episode. Am I the jerk for not wanting my husband to go away for the weekend for his best friend's bachelor party when I'm 37 weeks pregnant? Now, the original post for this one came back in March of 2019. My husband's best friend got engaged, and my husband is in the wedding party. He's not the best man, but is doing most of the planning for the bachelor party. In his friend group, they usually do a golf weekend. Also, this is likely the last bachelor party in the group, as the rest of the guys are already married. Well, who's to say one of them might be divorced and they might go again? The stats would say that's actually pretty likely. Anyway, let's carry on. I'll stop being silly. However, we have a 2-year-old, and I'm currently pregnant with our second child, and due on August 25th. This was posted March 25th, by the way. When he started planning the bachelor party, I told him that planning something earlier in the summer would give him a higher chance of going for the full weekend. I originally framed it as not wanting to be stuck watching our toddler by myself for a full weekend in my 3rd trimester while he's out golfing, which was a mistake. I should have framed it as not wanting him to go away for a weekend so close to my due date. I don't know. I think that isn't a mistake at all. The way you phrased it the first time is completely fair, and if he was reasonable, he'd probably say, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I'd pick an earlier date. Anyway, let's carry on. They finally picked a date for the bachelor weekend. It's August the 8th, so I'll be almost 38 weeks pregnant and considered full term. Technically, I'll be 38 weeks the day he plans to get back, so about 2 weeks before my actual due date. The bachelor party will be about 2 hours away without traffic. On previous golf weekends, he's been terrible about keeping his phone charged, and it can be hard to get in touch with him. Also, while he doesn't drink, he does smoke, and he would most likely be smoking the whole weekend. Now, he thinks that as long as he gets someone to watch our toddler while he's gone, it's fine to go for the full weekend, 2 to 3 nights. This makes me incredibly nervous. I'm willing to compromise and agree to an overnight plus a day of golf. I'd also want him to keep his phone on and charged at all times, and ask that he stay sober in case I go into labour. He seemed to think this was an unreasonable compromise when I initially brought it up. Since then, he is unwilling to discuss it until they have finalised the plans for the weekend. I'm of the mindset that there are very few times in our marriage where my needs, wants and desires take priority over his, but that this is one of them. Yes, obviously.
So, Reddit, am I the jerk for not wanting him to go to a bachelor party for 2 to 3 nights so close to my due date? Obviously not. How is this even a post? This is not a good sign for your husband, I'm sorry. The fact that you're even having to make this post is really tough. Let's get into an immediate update here because I don't even need to give my thoughts. The answer's so obvious. Update. I tried to talk to my husband about the bachelor party, and I specifically asked how they arrived at that weekend. My husband said the only requirement was that every groomsman be able to attend, and that he threw out 2 dates, one in July and the one 2 weeks before my due date. The July date didn't work for some of the groomsmen, so he picked the August date. Those were the only 2 weekends discussed, and he apparently picked both. His argument is that if I went into labour when he was at work and happened to be on a long call, it could take him over 2 hours to get home. So why is it not okay to plan a trip that would take him the same distance away? What? That's probably the worst argument that I've ever heard. I tried to explain that there's a difference between work, where if he can't get home it's because someone is seriously injured or something is burning down, and a bachelor party. He doesn't see it that way and just wants to be there for his friend. In his head, the due date is August 25th, and there's no chance that the baby could possibly come 2 weeks early. That's right, because babies are never born prematurely. We didn't get a chance to discuss duration of the weekend or the possibility of not smoking before the conversation dissolved. He got annoyed when I brought that he has a poor track record at keeping in touch during these things, although he was pretty angry throughout the entire conversation, to be honest. I tried to remain calm throughout the convo, but I did cry and I was the one to walk away first. Yeah, fair enough. After work today, I'm getting my son and we're going to stay with my parents. All right, let's jump into some comments. Now, this one is very interesting and I don't agree with it. They say OP is not the jerk. However, they also say this. I get that it's a big ask, but his best friend is getting married and he's only going to be 2 hours away. I think that as long as he keeps his phone charged and he stays sober enough to drive, it's not unreasonable that he wants to attend this event that he planned. But I also get why you're nervous. Could he tentatively plan to attend and then check in with your doctor to see how likely it is you're going to go into labour closer to the actual date? Somebody replied to this though. Doctors can guess, but they're frequently wrong. Lots of women are told they'll have their baby any day now at 36 weeks and go overdue. Or told there's no way the baby is coming yet and go into labour within a week. 2 hours away is unlikely to be a huge deal, but if he's drinking and has to sober up first, or if she has a precipitous labour, he could miss the birth entirely. Second babies often come faster too. Personally, I wouldn't be willing to risk that. Now, somebody else sort of replied to everything, all the comments here in general. I also, I can't quite believe what I'm reading here with the comments overall, and I'll give my thoughts on them after this, but they said, not the jerk, the comments here are just so frustrating. Yes, OP's husband will have to make the immense sacrifice of staying sober at a bachelor party. Woe is him, how could he possibly survive? I'm assuming that both parties made the decision to have another kid. In making that decision, OP has sacrificed 9 months of alcohol, getting high at parties, eating what she wants, any number of other things. I don't care if he organised and could have planned it on another day. I don't care if it's the last bachelor party of the group. OP and the baby come first. Not just when it's easy and convenient, but all the time. If my husband went to something like this after I'd asked him not to, and he missed the birth of our child, or showed up drunk or high while I was in labour, it would be the end of my marriage. I honestly cannot believe how many people are saying OP is unreasonable. If you can't stay sober for 1 weekend for your family, you have a problem. Now, amazingly, guys, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this either, the verdict on the original post on r/AmITheJerk was that there are actually no jerks here. And that, yes, what OP is saying is obviously very, very fair, very, very reasonable. But what OP's husband is demanding or wants as well is also reasonable, and therefore he's not the jerk. I could not disagree with this more. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, but from my perspective, I completely agree with the final comment here. OP has sacrificed so much to have the baby, and I know it's annoying, right? You want to go to this bachelor party that you've organised, but it's one bachelor party. It's really not that big of a deal. Also, the fact that you're being allowed to go overnight and have a full golf day as well, I think is a pretty great offer you've got there from your wife. Like, you're not going to get a much better offer than that. I think a lot of women and partners, you know, whichever way around it is, would be like, no, you're not going at all. You know, I think that would be very reasonable. I mean, if my pregnant wife said that to me, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah. Also, I don't think this would even have to happen. Like, you just would stay at home if you're a good person. So stupid. Like, why is he being such a terrible person about this? I can't quite work it out. Anyway, there's an update to this one that came 5 months later on August the 11th. So that is the weekend of the bachelor party. Well, just after it. I cannot wait to see what happened. I really cannot wait to see what conclusion or what sort of agreement these guys came to. Let's get into it. So, the bachelor party was this weekend. My husband and I ultimately decided to wait until the doctor's appointment the week before the party to make a decision. If she said, the baby is coming any day now, he was going to go for the day. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law volunteered to watch our son for the weekend. And it turns out that my parents are moving and wound up moving to an apartment that is 5 minutes from our house. So they'd be around in case I happen to go into labour. I just think that's stupid anyway. Sorry, guys. Like, your husband has to be there if there's any chance of you going into labour at all. I'm saying this as a guy that would love to go to a bachelor party, by the way. Like, I haven't organised one, and I can understand. If you organise one, it's a massive deal, and maybe it's the last one you're going to go to. You're going to want to be there, and it's going to be a great weekend. But some things take priority. Like, it's not even a debate in my head. I put myself in this position right now with my best mates in the world going to one of their bachelor parties that I've organised. It's not even up for discussion. I can't even believe this is a post, as I've said. We're going to finish it though, even though I'm actually getting like slightly perturbed by this, I'm going to be honest. Anyway, the OB said she didn't think the baby would come this weekend. So we decided that my husband would go to the bachelor party for 2 nights with the stipulation that he remain sober and be ready to leave at a moment's notice. My husband told his friends he'd be up on Friday. We were all set. Why? Fair play. I mean, you know what? Fair play to the husband for having a woman like this as his wife. You've done well, my friend, is all I'll say. And then on Wednesday, all heck broke loose. Our son got a rash on his hands and feet, and it turns out that someone at daycare had come down with hand, foot and mouth disease. He wasn't showing any other symptoms, so we weren't sure if he actually had it or if it was just a random rash. We decided to see how he was on Thursday. If he had a fever, I was going to get a hotel, because if I came down with it, then I could pass it to the baby, and my husband was going to have to stay home. Our son woke up fever-free on Thursday morning, so we were all set. Then, on Thursday night, my mum went to the ER with stomach pains. Turns out, she was also having a baby. Not really. I wonder how many of you I got with that. Turns out, she was going to need surgery. My husband was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. on Friday, but I asked him to wait until we got an update on my mum. That was a bit silly from me, but let me know in the comments down below. Did I prank ya? When I called her on Friday morning, apparently she was feeling better, so the doctor told her that she might be able to go home and schedule the surgery for a later date. I gave my husband the go-ahead to leave for the bachelor party. Except, then the doctor changed his mind and decided the surgery couldn't wait. My mum spent the weekend in the hospital waiting for a surgeon to be available. She finally was able to have the surgery on Sunday morning. In the meantime, I lined up a few friends just in case I happened to go into labour. My dad was also around, but had his hands full dealing with my mum and the move. So this weekend was stressful and it felt like everything that could go wrong did, but at least the baby stayed put. My husband got to go to 2 of the 3 nights of the bachelor party. My mum's surgery went well and our son never actually got sick. And my husband was a lot more responsive to text than he normally is because of the whole situation with my mum. No, that shouldn't have been the reason. It should have been because of you potentially having a kid. Anyway, I'm just glad that my husband is home and that this weekend is finally over. What have I just read? Please, like, can some of the comments agree with me here? What is going on? Let's just get straight into them. Somebody said, I nearly got a panic attack reading this. Okay, good. It was extremely irresponsible of your husband to leave once potential hand, foot and mouth disease was knocking about and your mother's surgery was in the picture. He shouldn't have even had to ask you. I mean, that is the thing. He really shouldn't have done. That puts pressure on you to not come across as a female dog in this. This could easily have gone a lot worse. You just lucked out. I was a preemie from my mother stressing out. I've had really bad hand, foot and mouth disease as an adult. And when I gave birth myself, it went from low risk to life-threatening pretty fast. And 2 hours would definitely have made a big difference. He's a father, and that means he's got to be there for you, his son, and new baby to be. A multi-day bachelor party cannot be a priority. It doesn't matter if you're family and friends, it's his child. I feel like you only got not the jerk because Reddit skews young enough and male enough that they don't quite internalize all the emotional labor that men pass to women and how optional men find putting in the time to be a father. Would they think it's reasonable if, at 1 week postpartum, you decided to leave the baby behind and party up with your friends? After all, there's breast pumps and formula, so other people can theoretically do the newborn parenting. He owes you like all the 4 a.m. feedings at this point to make this up. Somebody else commented, and you're going to like this one. Can you imagine if she'd gone into birth? OP, it's just me today. Dog. Really? You have someone you can call? Your mum? Well, she's in emergency surgery. Okay, your dad? He's taking care of her. Any friends? Well, they're caring for my son who has hand, foot and mouth disease. Okay, what is going on? Where's your husband again? Now see, he really wanted 2 nights with his boys. Goodness me. I'm glad it worked out, but I hope this man grows up. Somebody else said, this could be turned into a movie. So much drama with a good ending. Congrats, I'm glad everything turned out okay. Mum okay, son okay, you and baby okay. Husband had 2 nice days. Now, poop is going to hit the fan when the baby comes. You're going to be busier than a one-armed paper hanger. Now, OP did actually leave one final update here. Wow, I really wasn't expecting this to blow up. My husband and I were looking at the weekend with a sense of humour, as in, what else could go wrong? He's a great husband and father and very helpful around the house. I understand that he wanted a last hurrah with the boys before the baby comes, and I thought we did pretty well coming up with a compromise that was as stress-free as possible for everyone involved. Unfortunately, the best laid plans and all that rubbish. We're both just glad that he was able to have a great time with his friends. No one got hand, foot and mouth disease. My mum's okay, and he didn't miss the baby being born. Okay, I mean, maybe, but like, sorry. As I've already said throughout all of this story, you lot get in the comments down below. Tell me if I'm actually like just siding with the mum too much here. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I also don't think that any of this stuff really had to happen before the decision should have been made. Like the hand, foot and mouth disease and your OP's mum going into surgery or whatever. Like, surely you should already have just been like, oh, I'm going to be at home. And even after that, like, surely at that point, when you've got the disease and both of OP's parents are obviously tied up in the surgery, he should have been like, okay, no, you know what? I do want to go to this, but I'll definitely stay at home now. What is going on? Also, why not just make yourself unavailable for that weekend in the first place? 2 weeks before your wife is due is a stupid time to organize a bachelor party. Do it on another day. Like, your wife explicitly said to you, the earlier you do it, the better, because I'm pregnant. It's so dumb. I just don't really get why the people of Reddit, and this is where I do often, and sometimes, not often, often's harsh, but sometimes I'm a little bit perplexed by Redditors when they just like come to some opinion that I just do not agree with. I guess that's the beauty of the internet. But last hurrah before the baby comes? You already have a baby. Like, I feel like you're past that point now. Unless he gets a last hurrah before every new baby comes. It's stupid. Why do you need a last hurrah as well? Like, you've chosen to have a baby. Shouldn't that just be like the most unbelievable thing ever? And also the fact that you already have a kid, like, you're already looking after a kid. Having another one doesn't change the fact that you're already looking after one. I don't get the last hurrah bit. I don't understand. I really, really don't. I just think this guy is an absolute clown. Like, let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me on this. I just think it's like the most easy sort of conclusion to this one ever. He's just a clown. And look, clearly OP is a very, very selfless, forgiving person, but I feel like you're bordering on welcome mat material. That is how much your husband feels like he can just do stuff and get away with it because you're so nice to him. Maybe I'm going too far here. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that is what I think about that one. Am I the jerk for flirting with 19-year-old girls and defending myself when being called a predator? Okay, so as I said, this was originally posted in 2019. I'm 31 and I recently ended a long-term relationship. I was broken. I recently went to this cool restaurant/bar downtown with one of my buddies to have a good time. Anyone of any age can come in. While we were there was a girl who was celebrating her 19th birthday. They sang happy birthday and they were allowed an outside cake with 19 on it. The birthday girl was pretty, so I wanted to go and chat her up. Her friends were super cute too. My buddy told me to leave them alone and that they looked like babies. He didn't want to go over at first, but since the breakup, every other woman but my ex has been invisible, so he went to wingman me. We walked over and wished her a happy birthday. I thought things were going well and the women were laughing. Then, all of a sudden, one of the girls snaps at me to, quote, "Take a frickin' hint, R. Kelly." I was taken aback and just said, "Excuse me?" She said to read the room and that they were uncomfortable. Another asked us to go away. I was gonna go, but I was really bothered by the R. Kelly comment. I said it's effed up to call me a predator when we're all adults here. My buddy wanted to leave, but I stood my ground. The birthday woman said that it didn't matter. It's weird for someone my age to hit on them, especially when they make it obvious that they're uncomfortable. Then made another R. Kelly comment by asking if she looked like AITA to me, which upset me again. I apologized for making them uncomfortable, but that didn't give them the right to call me a predator. One of the women said it was a personal problem. I said that adults are allowed to hit on adults. It's not a crime. One woman just asked why I was still standing there and yelled at me to go away. I was annoyed, and when I left, their entire table was singing Remix to Ignition and laughing their butts off. I was furious and humiliated. When we sat back down, I was seething. My buddy said that it was my fault for not seeing the signs that they were uncomfortable. To him, it was obvious, so he wanted to go. He called me delusional. I pointed out that they were laughing, and he said it was just uncomfortable laughter. I told him that I had every right to be mad about being called a predator when they were all 18 to 19. It's a horrible accusation to make. My ex was 6 years older than me. He said that they weren't calling me a predator, just weird for going for teens. He said it was wrong of them to sing after me, and that was bullying, but I should have left long before that. I felt like he should have stuck up for me. So, was I wrong for sticking up for myself, or for hitting on them in the first place? I was respectful and not creepy at all as well. Okay, let's get straight into some comments here. I think you guys can probably guess what I'm gonna say, but let's just jump into the comments. Somebody said, yes, you are the jerk for being creepy, not taking a hint, and arguing about it to women who have just asked you to leave. You're upset about being called a predator, but you don't seem to care that your inappropriate behavior made a group of women in public feel uncomfortable. Somebody replied to that. Typical nice guy, I suppose. Somebody else replied, the table singing Remix to Ignition was also hilarious in how badly it annoyed the original poster here. I completely agree. Somebody else said, he's actually an extra jerk for standing his ground when they asked him to leave. What did he think would happen? They'd admire his persistence and realize they were wrong all along and he was actually a nice guy who they should all sleep with? Somebody replied to this saying, or they'd all look sheepish and he could leave like a boss, having owned all these female doggy women. Somebody else said, then the entire restaurant would clap. And then somebody else added, and all the women would throw their knickers at the clear alpha male. I think this comment sums it up. You are the jerk. The fact that both the girls and your friend easily recognized that it was creepy to hit on her should tell you that it wasn't okay. You're 31, hitting on a 19-year-old, and you can't actually confirm how old the other girls were. Probably around 17, 18, and 19. That is very creepy, and you made them uncomfortable and then didn't take a hint, then got mad when they had to be mean to you for you to go away, and you still didn't go away. This is predatory behavior, and I'm not really sure what you thought was going to happen. Okay, so there we go. That is the original post. Now we are going to get into the follow-up post from one of the girls, which is an absolute privilege to have, to be honest. I'm delighted that we have this follow-up to give more context and more detail. But what I will say is this. After like the first line or the third line, you are automatically the jerk. If you're 30 years old, 19 is too young. It's as simple as that. I'm 26. For me, 19 is like it's not even a question. It's so young. A 19-year-old girl is like a child in comparison to me. They're not attractive because they're 19. It's just too young. It's too much of an age gap. I'm sorry, it just is. I wouldn't even consider it for even a split second. I mean, to be honest, the lowest age I'd probably go at 26 would maybe be 23 at a push, probably 24, just being honest. 19, as you can tell, is miles off it. I mean, my sister's 23, 4 years younger than my sister, not at this age. 30 to 19 is a ridiculous age gap. You were 11 when they weren't born. Like, you were in secondary school in the UK. Absolutely not. But anyway, the more stuff we read there, the more of a jerk you got, obviously. I mean, standing your ground when girls in public are asking you to move on, you just are a jerk. Sorry, it doesn't even matter what you're doing, just leave them alone. Anyway, let's then get in to the follow-up post. Okay, here we go then. One day after the 30-year-old's post, we got this. I have never had a Reddit account before, but my journalism TA showed us it, and sometimes I'll just check the front page for news. Earlier, I saw a post up there that basically described my birthday dinner like 3 weeks ago. At first, I didn't really care, but now I just feel the need to clarify a few things. Even though I know most people called that guy a jerk. Some people got aggy about the R. Kelly comment and singing Ignition. Was it mean? Yes. But I'm done being nice to creeps. For what it's worth, by the way, I completely agree with one of the comments. That's really funny. And you are allowed to make dark jokes like that. I mean, the world's gone mad if we're not allowed to make jokes about stuff like that. I'm sorry. That's the exact sort of thing I do. Very funny stuff. No, it's got nothing to do with the fact that he actually did horrible things. It's just a joke. All right. And if you don't understand that, then you're a loser. Now, the girl continues. This was not a bar. It was actually a bar and grill, but it was mainly a restaurant that just happened to serve drinks. We were sitting near a family, so we weren't in a setting where people go to get hit on. We were minding our own business and we were just having fun in the corner. He came and wished me a happy birthday. I said thanks, and we all went back to our conversation. I did appreciate being told happy birthday, but he stuck around. We laughed uncomfortably and went back to our conversation. He stuck around and kept interrupting us. Each time he said something, we nodded and then turned our backs to him. We actually said, thank you, bye, a few times, but he was still standing there talking to us. His friend kept finding excuses to leave. I was annoyed, uncomfortable, and disgusted, but I gave him a respectful, okay, have a good night, here's some cake for home, bye. But he grabbed the cake and sat down in our booth. He said, the night's not over yet. Well, if that's not the definition of creepy, I don't know what is. Then my friend just snapped, and if she didn't, I was going to. When she called him R. Kelly, she wasn't accusing him of being a pedo, but a creep. 30-year-old guys who hit on us are creepy and disgust us, point blank period. We were nice the entire time, and I even gave him a million hints and cake for the road. His friend was even finding reasons for them to leave. Then he had the audacity to stand there and fight us on it. I told him that he was way too old for us, and it was creepy from the start. When he left, we started singing Ignition amongst ourselves, not singing it after him. It's a throwback that our parents put us on. Instead of crying over our night being ruined by a creep, we turned it into a fun moment with karaoke. P.S. When he asked us our age and gave us his, we became a million times more uncomfortable. The guy was 30, trying to get with 18-year-olds at a birthday dinner. We're used to old men bothering us, and it's always gross. To the if he wasn't ugly crowd, he was decent looking. He was a fit guy. If I'd never met him, I'd set him up with my aunt. But he was in his 30s, and that's way too old. This isn't prawn, and I haven't met a single girl desperate for a 30-year-old divorced D. Being called legal is demeaning. Everything about it was sickening. When he came over, announced his age, then asked us ours, I almost yacked. It was like he was IDing us at a family restaurant. Get the F out of here. I'm tired of having to be polite to guys who are creepy and disrespectful. You know what? Mad respect. And once again, I cannot quite believe that somebody that is 30 would go after girls that are 18 or 19. What are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Like, it's not even... I don't get it. It's not... Where's the attraction there to go after like someone that is, in effect, a child? It's just insane. Someone that's 12 or 11 years younger than you at that age. It's mad. And also, the crazy thing is, he said it was at a bar, not at a restaurant, like a bar and grill, a family restaurant. Just insane. And that is why I'm so happy that this girl has given a follow-up to give us as much context as we could possibly long for and to show us what was really going on that day. Just phenomenal scenes. And yeah, a wonderful, wonderful story. Wow, this guy is the definition of a creep. Am I the jerk for not wanting my sister at my wedding since she is in a wheelchair and will take up all of the spotlight? My sister, who is 26, has been on and off out of hospital. I'm going to call her Anna. Anna got cancer when she was 15 and was able to beat it. Ever since, she's been having growths, and anytime one appears, we're worried about the cancer coming back. My issue is that she always makes these announcements that she needs to go to the doctors again at the worst times. At the beginning, I thought it was just bad timing, but it's happened so many times when I hit a milestone. My graduations, my birthdays, my engagement party. Anytime she makes an announcement she needs to go back to the hospital, my whole family will flock to her. I've had my birthday dinner turn into my relatives flocking to her for the whole night. I had a dinner party to announce my wedding date for my relatives. It was going so great and it was a fun time until Anna told Mum she needs to go back to the hospital. Soon, everyone forgot about the reason for the dinner party and it was quiet. My aunt even stepped in to do a prayer for Anna. Another event was taken over. I went low contact with her after that. She was invited to the wedding and it's in 2 weeks. I learned today that she is on and off in a wheelchair from my mum. She's gonna need to take it just in case for the wedding. I asked if the rest of the family was informed and she told me no. I told both my mum and Anna that they need to inform them. They told me they don't want to worry them and won't do that. I had enough and told them you need to tell them before my wedding. Again, a no. So I then informed them that Anna is no longer invited. This started a huge argument about how I'm a jerk, but my point is that I'm sick of her stealing the spotlight. That is what will happen if she rolls in with a wheelchair. Okay, not gonna lie, when I first read the title, I thought, goodness me, this person is very, very ableist. But in reality, I don't know. It's a tough one, but yeah, I agree with OP. And I feel like at this point, yeah, you should rescind your sister's invite. If she seemingly does this on purpose, and let's be honest, right? The coincidences here are far too frequent and it just seems to happen all the time, especially with you and your life, that yeah, it's really not a coincidence anymore. And yeah, you got to rescind that invite. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure your sister has difficulties. I mean, having cancer at that early age is just unbelievably unlucky. And there's no doubt in my mind that she probably is still dealing with lots of issues and has, you know, unfortunately got a lot of illness. But I just don't think that can line up perfectly with everything going on in your life. And it does seem as if, yeah, she is taking the limelight away from you. She's probably going to do the same, or at least by being there in a wheelchair. Well, I don't know. That's harsh. I think she should be allowed to go, but I get your point as to why you don't want her there, because you know that it's going to take the limelight away from you on your big day. Thinking about it again though, it does seem very harsh. Just because she's coming in a wheelchair, is that like enough to say she can't come? I guess the point is that you're asking her to tell people in advance so they expect it and aren't suddenly like, oh my goodness me, what's happened to you? All the attention on her, as it often is, as we've seen from OP's examples. So yeah, tough one, but OP, yeah, I think I can say that you're not the jerk here. Now for our next post. Am I the jerk for ruining Christmas and being upset that the only gifts I got from my family were joke gifts? For some background, my family likes to play pranks with Christmas and birthday gifts. It's nothing new. I, a 21-year-old female, as well as my 5 siblings, who range from 29 to 37 years old, have all been pranked on our birthdays and on Christmas, and usually it's 1 or 2 gifts. This Christmas though, I was the only person to get all joke gifts. For example, I unwrapped a MacBook from my brother, but when I opened it, it was just some chocolate, which I don't eat, so I gave it away, and the MacBook was actually given to my sister inside a bag she wanted. Another gift was what I thought was a book that I put on my Christmas list, but was actually just a book cover put on a dictionary. When I asked my mum about the book, she told me she gave it to my sister-in-law. This went on with each present that my siblings or parents gave me. AirPods, just a charger block. Adapter, gift cards used that had $0 balance. A card with Monopoly money, and so on, totaling about 12 joke gifts. I realized I went out of my way to get everyone something they wanted or that they'd like, and I didn't get anything. At this point, I was bummed, so I went to the living room to watch TV with my boyfriend. At dinner, they were all talking about how much they loved their gifts, and when my dad asked why I hadn't said anything about mine, I said there wasn't much to say. Everyone but my boyfriend laughed, and my mum said it was no big deal as everyone else also got some joke gifts. I told her every gift I got was a joke gift, and that the ones they got were also then followed by real ones. My dad told me I needed to relax as I'm making a big deal about it, and I'd have next Christmas to get the stuff on my list. Not wanting to go back and forth, I told my boyfriend that I wanted to leave, and can we please spend the rest of Christmas break with his family, then go home. My family got mad and told me not to go and to just stay because it wasn't serious. I left and put my phone on Do Not Disturb during the drive, and by the time we got to my boyfriend's parents' house, I had several missed calls and texts from them, calling me names like ungrateful, sensitive, and childish. They said I ruined Christmas and made my parents upset because I left. The next day, I exchanged and opened gifts with my boyfriend and his family, and one of the gifts I'd gotten was the book I wanted. That's the book my mum pretended to give me. I posted it on my Instagram story, and not even 0 minutes after posting it, my sister sent a screenshot of my story to the family group chat, and they basically got mad at me for leaving, telling me I ruined Christmas over some presents. They told me I owe everyone, especially my parents, an apology, because my mum spent New Year's sad because of my actions. Now, I just want an outside party to tell me if I'm the jerk here. Am I in the wrong for being upset about the gifts and for leaving? After reading their messages and sitting on this for a few days, I now feel like maybe I was upset over nothing and I need to apologize to them. Okay, now this one is just clearly OP is not the jerk. Sorry, like that's not even up for debate. What sort of prank is this? I just don't get it. Like, it's not even funny. If you did it once with something small, yes, that would be funny. For example, I don't know if you have this in America or anywhere else in the world, but say you had, chocolate oranges, a very popular thing here in the UK, something that's synonymous with Christmas, kind of just a chocolate orange. That's what it says. It's not really orange, but it's like chocolatey orange, and it's lovely, and I love it. And it's a big part of Christmas, in my opinion. Funny joke here would be, put a tennis ball inside a chocolate orange wrapper and give it to somebody. And then that's a joke, and it's funny, it's lighthearted, and then give them a real chocolate orange after that. Don't fake give them a MacBook, fake give them the book they really want, fake give them AirPods, and then just not actually give them anything. How is that funny? Like, pranks have to be funny, surely. And this, therefore, isn't a prank, it's just bullying a member of your own family. Very, very odd. And then they go ahead and get upset when you leave? I wonder why. I want to pick out this comment from someone actually, which I think sums up really well. I'll put it on screen right now. They say, do not apologize. Your family sucks and you've done nothing wrong. I would write something like this in the group chat. Happy New Year, guys. I understand that mum is sad that I left on Christmas, but you need to understand that you all made me sad on Christmas Day. I did not receive a single thoughtful gift from you guys, not one. Every single gift I opened was a prank, where the joke was that you actually didn't get me something I would like, but instead you got something intentionally to upset me. My hope is that you all just didn't realize that every single gift given to me was meant as a joke, but it was. Every single one. It isn't being ungrateful to be disappointed in that, and I think you all know that. I am ready to move on from this disappointing Christmas and believe you that next year will be different, but I'll not be apologizing for leaving on Christmas when you all hurt me. And there we go. That is the perfect response. Don't apologize, whatever you do. Am I the jerk for not inviting my friend's husband to dinner because he eats way too much? My friend has been married for a year now to her firefighter husband. She is the only one in the friend group that is married. I usually host dinners every couple of months, and we're going to do a late one for the holidays on Friday. I usually invite him, but money has gotten tight due to the holidays, and he eats so much. I understand why, but it always results in me having to double recipes or I run out of food. So this time, I told everyone that I want to just do a girls' night. This means my friend's husband is not invited. If he isn't there, there is enough food for everyone without double recipes. She called me up, asking why I'm doing a girls' night. And I told her the truth, that I can't afford to make double for dinner and her husband eats a lot. She called me a jag-off, and now she's telling my friends why. Everyone is split, and no one is offering to help with the food bill. Okay, very interesting one here, and to be honest, I'm actually left with a few more questions rather than my answer to your question, OP, as to whether you're the jerk or not. Because I feel like there's a little bit of stuff missing, which is very imperative information to find out if you're in the wrong or not. First of all, does your friend's husband actually say that he needs to eat more food? right? Does he say at the end of the meal, oh, I'm hungry, you got any more? Or is he just eating food that is there because you've cooked it? I know it works both ways. You cook more because you know he's coming and he eats more. But if there wasn't the food there for him, would he not just be happy enough just to have the same amount as everyone else? And then, yeah, maybe he can have some more later or have a snack later or whatever, up to his own discretion. But is he actually explicitly saying to you, I need or want more food? I think that's a big point, because if he is, then I do think that, of course, makes him and your friend the jerk. Whereas if he isn't, then can't you just make the same amount of food that you would for anyone else? I don't know. Now, second point I need to say is, why does your friend care that much if it's a girls' night or not? I mean, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to host. Having a girls' night is fine. I don't know why your friend would then call you and ask why your husband is not invited. Her husband isn't invited because it's a girls' night. That I found weird. Now, finally, I don't know about saying to her that you can't afford to make double for dinner and her husband eats a lot, because that is just rude. I know it's factual maybe in your head, but that is just rude and unnecessary. I think you could have said something else, or just said, it's a girls' night, I want to do a girls' night. Because saying that, like, she's obviously going to tell her husband and he's going to be like, what? It's obviously going to play on his mind, whatever, and going to annoy multiple people by saying that. So I'm not sure you should have done that. So yeah, all of that combined leads me to get to a conclusion, which, to be honest, I can't quite get to. I feel like I need you guys to come in the comments down below on this one and help me out. What do you think? I mean, delving into it even deeper, no one's offering to help with the food bill. I think that's poor. If you've asked them. Because if you're the one that always hosts these nights, then, you know, people should help, or at least, you know, financially help in some way, whether they bring around drinks or flowers, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's up to your friend group, of course. But yeah, if you're making a lot of food and it's consistently you, then it would be nice for people to help out. I know it's not the done thing, but it would be nice. Overall, I would say that you're not the jerk, but you could have handled the situation better. And I think you just need to have a conversation, like a proper adult conversation with your friend and her husband to come to some sort of consensus, because there definitely is one there. You just need to find it. Am I the jerk for ordering food to go when my friend group wanted to split the check evenly? This has been an ongoing issue. I have a friends group that likes eating nicer food. Personally, for me, I'm fine getting something cheap on the menu. The issue is they always want to split the check. I've had the conversation so many times that I want to pay for what I ordered. It results in an argument where I have to bend or everyone is mad at me. I also make a lot more than my friends, so it always results in them basically calling me cheap. They don't get that I want to pay for my meal and that is it. Anyways, we went out to eat yesterday and they all ordered things that were around $30. I got the house salad and my total was around $12. They told the server to split the bill and I didn't want to fight about it again. I asked the server to add onto the bill an entree and dessert for me to take home. This resulted in my bill going up into the 30s. So they asked what I was doing. I told them I'm getting more food. They got upset that I increased the price they needed to pay. This resulted in another argument and they think I'm a jerk. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, absolutely love what you did at the end. That is just so good. Yes, it's petty, of course it is. But is it fair? In my opinion, it is. If you are spending that much less than other people at dinner, then you don't have to pay the same amount as them. And I don't actually think it matters if you earn loads more, because if you're spending like a third of what they're spending, then you should be paying a third of what they're spending. Now, if it was more like you were spending, say, $20, $25, and they were spending $30, then I'd say, okay, there's no need to be pedantic, just split. Yeah, you might pay a few more dollars than what you actually paid for, but that's part of life, and you know, you're with your friends having a good time anyway. It doesn't really matter. It's a nice thing to do. But doing this and then doing what you did, I think is very clever. My mum always says, actually, now she doesn't drink really, and when she goes to dinner with her friends, they drink, and obviously alcohol is more expensive than getting a tap water or something, so she gets like a sparkling water, or a still water. Actually, I think it's a still water, but instead of getting tap water, she'll pay for a nice bottle of still water that obviously is nicer than tap water. Now you could say, is there a need to do that? Probably not. But she says, if everyone else is buying expensive drinks and, you know, beers and glasses of wine or whatever, why shouldn't I, if we are going to split the bill, get a drink that I want as well? That, yeah, is more expensive than a tap water, and it is still a water, but, you know, that gets me closer to what everyone else is paying for, and it's fair. And I say to that, yeah, that makes sense. And I think I would say the same in this. This is obviously a little bit more petty, buying a whole other meal, but once again, it makes sense to me, and I like what you did. I mean, you could also just say to the staff or whatever, I want to pay myself, and just not like even have your friends in that conversation, although that could get a bit messy. So, you know, again, yeah, Love what you did. Let's carry on. Now for our final Am I the Jerk post. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter-in-law she eats much more than me, so of course she is bigger? I'm so tired. My son and my daughter-in-law are staying with me to save money. I cook and we have a serve yourself policy. The thing is, she'll eat a lot more than me. For example, I made chicken. I'd eat only 1 chicken breast and she'd have 3. Basically, she eats a lot more than me and I don't substitute for lower calorie stuff. I'm not going to use skim milk instead of cream, for example. She is overweight and has been going on about how it doesn't make sense that I am much smaller. I asked if she was joking, and she confirmed that she didn't understand why she is gaining weight. I told her that she eats a lot more than me, so of course she's bigger. This started an argument about how I'm shaming her and not being a good host. My son wants me to apologize, but I find it ridiculous, and this is common sense. Wow, what a way to end it. Just saying, you eat a lot, therefore you're fat. I think you could have handled that a lot better, personally. I don't think you're necessarily the jerk here because you are telling the truth, but there was a lot better ways of handling it than this. I mean, why didn't you go down the education route? Actually, the more I think about it, the more I have to say that was kind of a, jerk move. Just saying, what? It does make sense. You eat 3 times as much as me, therefore, of course you're bigger. It's tough, but I guess fair. But yeah, I think you should have handled it a little bit better, personally. Although you could say that, the truth hurts, and sometimes it is better to hear the truth properly, matter-of-factly, than someone sort of like, stepping around it saying, oh, you're not overweight, you're just, a little bit bigger, that's all. You probably just have a slower metabolism, it's probably genes, etc., etc. No, in reality, you fat you just eat too much. Sometimes you need to hear that. That is tough. Well, there you go. Am I the jerk for giving my son non-vegan food behind my wife's back? I am 32 and my wife is 33. We've been married for 8 years and have a 12-year-old son together. About 6 years ago, my wife decided to go vegan. She was sent the documentary Dominion by a vegan friend of hers, and ever since has said that non-vegan food is revolting and refuses to eat it. After a long conversation, I agreed to go vegetarian and be vegan in the house and around her, which she was happy with. She also decided our son should be vegan, which after seeing a dietitian, I also agreed with. Things have been fine with this arrangement until a few months ago, when I began finding wrappers from non-vegan candy and even burgers from McDonald's in my son's school bag, which he'd been buying with chore money. I had a conversation with my son, and he confessed he felt lonely and excluded eating vegan around his friends, and that they always had much better candy than he did, and it wasn't fair. I decided I didn't want him spending his pocket money on snacks and throwing out the vegan snacks that we actually buy him instead of buying games, etc. It just made no sense. But I also know the way my wife feels about non-vegan products. So I began buying my son what he wanted on our way to football practice instead. Long story short, my wife recently found out what's been going on and completely flipped out. She called me an animal abuse enabler and a few other names, and said that I was corrupting our son. Now she's not speaking to me. Our son panicked and told her that I had bought the snacks for him and he didn't know they weren't vegan. I don't blame him for that. He just doesn't want to be in trouble with mum. So, am I the jerk here? Oof, this is a tough one to start with. First of all, I will say 100% I don't think that you, OP, the dad, are in the wrong here at all. Like, it's a tough spot. I get that. And as much as you really want to, support your wife and you yourself have subscribed to going veggie and respecting your wife being vegan and having a vegan household, it's really tough when you see that your kid's life is being negatively impacted. I think we can all agree on that, by being vegan. Like, it's affecting him in school. He's having to spend his own money to get food on top of the food he already has. Who knows, it may also be affecting his relationships in school with his classmates. I don't know. He says he feels isolated. That is tough. I think, to be honest, it gets to a stage with your kids, and you're probably at that right now, where you and your wife have to sit down and think, really, although your wife probably doesn't want to admit this, your son doesn't want to be vegan. And he's at that age now where it's up to him to decide if he wants to continue being vegan or not. Maybe he does. Maybe he wants to be veggie like you. I mean, you don't want to be vegan. You said that. You want to be veggie, vegan in the house, but you don't want to be fully vegan in your everyday life. I think you've openly admitted that. Maybe his son's the same. Or maybe he just doesn't want to be vegan or veggie at all and eat, every food. But I think at this stage now, it has to be up to him, really. So yeah, you're not the jerk. It's a conversation to be had as a family. Am I the jerk for embarrassing someone by pretending to be Japanese? Backstory. I am a 20-year-old woman, and I have a Japanese name, even though I am not ethnically Japanese. My mum is Korean and my dad is British. They met and fell in love while studying in Japan and had me there after marrying. We lived there until I was 14 before moving to the States. This will be important later. Today, a group of my roommate's friends came over to study with her, and I happened to be in the living room when they arrived. They were introducing themselves to me, and when I said my name, I have a pretty common Japanese girl name, so it's pretty hard to be mistaken about the origin. One of the girls made a disgusted face and laughed at me, saying that was so dumb. She said that she was Japanese American and I was culturally appropriating her country as a white person. I tried to explain that I lived in Japan for a while and that was why, but she kept insisting I was lying and that if I was telling the truth, I'd be able to speak the language. Since she put it like that, I started talking to her in Japanese, basically explaining where I lived there and asking which prefecture her parents were from, etc. She then ends up stuttering through a sentence in an awkward manner before leaving in a huff. Later, my roommate told me I embarrassed her by pretending to be more Japanese than an actual Japanese person and appropriating the culture, and that her friend expected an apology. So, am I the jerk? You know what? Even if you weren't Japanese, I would say you're not the jerk here. Even if you had nothing to do with Japan, I would say you're not the jerk. If you make this person understand that they are being racist, every ist you can possibly think of, realistically. Like, they just are, aren't they? I mean, come on. That is good enough in my opinion. Like, this person needs to be called out on this sort of stuff. Somebody's name they were given at birth, not by them, doesn't mean that they are guilty of cultural appropriation. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So if you can call that person out and say you are being stupid, even if you're not Japanese, I don't care. Call them out. And also, that just takes away from the fact that you're obviously not pretending to be Japanese. At no point did you say, oh, by the way, I am Japanese. You just spoke in Japanese because you can speak Japanese because you lived in Japan. Really stupid from this person, but yeah, good on you, and do not apologize, obviously. Am I the jerk for suggesting my wife lower her standards so that she'll be less overwhelmed? My wife and I have 3 kids who are 12, 10, and 8. She is in a constant state of overwhelm and very easily irritated, constantly complaining how it's all too much. I'm of course happy to help and do my fair share for the kids or household, but it's never enough because her standards are too dang high. She insists one of us has to be up at 6:45 every morning to make sure the kids are ready and make the bus, which comes at 7:45. I told her they're old enough to not need that much help already. They can all dress themselves and pour themselves cereal and milk. There's no reason we have to be up. She says that cereal isn't a good enough breakfast, they need something more substantial, especially the 12-year-old, and that the 10-year-old has ADHD and will definitely struggle without help in the morning. And anyway, she wants to see them off and kiss them goodbye for the day. So she gets up, I don't, then she gets upset that I never give her a morning off when all she needs to do is just take the morning off when she wants and then let the kids handle themselves. Also, she is super strict about screen time during the week and is exhausted and snappy from arguing about it with the kids and upset that I don't support her strict limit of 2 hours a day. I say as long as homework is done, why not, until bed? She says it's not healthy for them. They need to play outside or with games and toys, read some books, just entertain themselves in more ways than one. I agree they should enjoy other things, but I don't see why we have to make such a rigid limit. She also likes to get out on weekends and do stuff like zoos, museums, etc. But then she complains about the planning for the outing and how grouchy the youngest gets by the end of it. And again, I say let's just chill at home and voila, you've cut the work. I'm an engaged and active parent. I'm not trying to get out of it, but I don't think I should have to help my wife dig herself out of her own self-created holes. She creates the stress for herself and then turns to me to alleviate it, which I think is unfair. So, am I the jerk for telling her she needs to do less and then she won't need this level of help? Oh my goodness me. Honestly, I just feel bad for your wife. I really do. Like, this guy is just not helping himself, is he? Like, at no point is this mum saying, I hate doing all these things, let's stop doing them, right? She knows the benefit of doing all these things. Like, she's making and creating a great life for her children. Imagine you wake up, right, with your 2 other siblings, you've got to make your own breakfast, get clothes, get ready for school, all that stuff. You're 8 years old. Your parents are still asleep. You're probably thinking to yourself, it's not ideal. Why don't they get up at the same time as we do and help us out? You know, that's number one. Secondly, the point this man's making about, oh, how about don't do these activities anymore? So you're saying in effect there that you don't want your children to go and do these outings. Yes, obviously the 8-year-old is probably getting a bit tired by the end, but what's the alternative? You sit inside all day on the weekend and just do nothing? I think that would probably be worse. I mean, you think of a good childhood. Do you think of going to the zoo and doing all these fun activities with your parents? Yeah, you might get a bit tired by the end of the day, but you don't remember that. Or do you think of staying inside? No, that doesn't sound fun to me. Let's be honest. Like, what this bloke is really saying is stupid. Let's all chill at home every day, all the time, and you've cut the work. No, being a parent is hard work. That's kind of what you sign up for. Trust me, I'd know, right? As a dad of 0 kids, I would know that. But seriously, parents down below, you get what I'm saying, right? Give me a comment, back me up on this one. Parents have to work hard to make their children's lives fun and, easier. That's the job of a parent. Let's be completely real. So to say, let's just stay in bed until our kids go to school, let's just do nothing on the weekends, is a total load of rubbish. I mean, you said at the end, I'm an engaged and active parent. You don't sound that to me, my friend. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You don't sound that engaged, and you definitely don't sound active. You do, though, sound like a bit of a jerk. Sorry to say it, but that's how I feel. Am I the jerk for going on vacation without my husband? My husband and I planned a week vacation to New Orleans in the US. We, but mostly I, have been planning this for months. Back in March, I told him that I would plan most of it. Where to go and what to do. All he has to do was make sure he had the week off and buy the plane tickets. I spent the last few months researching what to do. I booked the hotel room, made reservations at places we wanted to try. I made a list of all the sites I wanted to see. Every few weeks, I would check in with my husband to see if he'd asked off and bought the tickets yet. He would say he was waiting for the plane ticket prices to go down. 3 weeks ago, I reminded him once again, and he said he'd got off of work for the days, but had forgotten to get the tickets. He looked online, and the tickets were close to $1,500 each. He said he was going to wait some more to see if they go down. Last week, I asked if he'd bought them yet, and he said no. We looked again, and the prices were still high. He said he wasn't willing to spend that much on them and asked how much money I would lose if I just cancelled everything instead. He offered to have a nice staycation instead. What a great alternative. I told him I wasn't willing to cancel everything because I spent so much time planning it. We argued and we didn't come to a conclusion. I wound up buying just one ticket for myself. And when I flew out on Saturday, I told him I was still going. And he acted all surprised that I didn't want to stay home with him. I am in New Orleans now, and he's blowing up my phone, saying that I'm a jerk for still going without him. He was trying to get a ticket to come too, but I told him if he came, he's getting his own hotel room because this is now my vacation away from him. Am I the jerk? Oh my god, maybe this is the same husband from the last post. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. What an idiot. Like, obviously you're not the jerk. It's just what a clown. Everybody knows, by the way, that unless you get really, really lucky with some last minute prices to undesirable locations, plane tickets are pretty much always cheaper the further out from the date you are. It's just like a common fact. Yeah, I know there's times and there are deals when it's not the case, but the majority of the cases, that is the truth. So I don't really know what your husband was thinking there. Was he really after some last minute deal that was gonna save him probably like $10, $20 per ticket on what he would have got if he just paid for the tickets when you asked him the first time? No, he's just being lazy. That is the honest truth. And he's also not respecting the amount of time and effort that you spent into doing all the work for a probably really nice vacation. He's a clown, and absolutely enjoy the holiday on your own. Am I the jerk for telling my sister it's her fault her son is being bullied? My sister, who is 33 years old, has 2 sons, Bracken, who is 13, and Neville, who's 11. My husband and I went to a basket raffle at our local library this past weekend with my sister, Bracken, Neville, Bracken's girlfriend, and my sister's husband. This raffle is held every year and has many local businesses and organizations donate baskets to help raise funds for the library. There are all sorts of baskets, from free messages to gift cards to sports jerseys and so much more. Bracken got some tickets for all of the sports-related ones. He plays baseball and has done this every year, and he's been pretty successful in the past. Bracken then went around with his girlfriend. I was hanging out with my husband, sister, and rest of the family while looking at the baskets when Bracken and his girlfriend came back to us. Shortly after this, while still looking at the baskets, we saw some sciencey baskets with projects and books for kids and adults. This type of stuff is what Neville likes. It was going fine until, in that section, they had a few baskets that were aimed at girls in science/STEM. When Neville saw the baskets, he called them stupid and started making some pretty awful comments about how girls are too dumb for science and that's why they needed special baskets. He made some more comments, like, "This is why robotics club is all boys." My husband and I just dismissed it, but we could see a few people giving us looks. And Bracken made a comment telling his brother Neville to shut his mouth. The raffle happened. Bracken won a lot, the rest of us didn't. On the car ride home, my hubby and I were asking each other where Neville could have learned that language, and we were stumped. Last night, I got a call from my sister, and she seemed stressed. She was telling me about how horrible Neville's first month of middle school was. She was telling me he was being targeted and bullied. I asked her to explain what happened, and she was just crying. I asked if she could give the phone to someone else. She gave it to Bracken, who told us that she wasn't telling the truth. He said that the kids were mocking Neville for what he'd said at the raffle. Bracken admitted that he had told his friends about it, who then spread it around to the 6th graders. Some of the kids in Neville's grade were calling him creepy and weird, and were doing it to his friends as well, who defended his comments. My sister quickly grabbed the phone from him after. After she calmed down, she asked me what to do. I told her that this was on her, and her fault for not correcting Neville's behaviour. She said that she didn't know why he said it, and said that she can't just take away his phone or friends, when I mentioned both as a possible source. She just doubled down and said she needed to teach Bracken and his friends not to gossip. I told her she was being ridiculous and hung up. She tried calling back, I didn't pick up, then I got angry texts. So, am I the jerk? Yeah, look, I completely agree. You're definitely not being the jerk here, and it is definitely on your sister to teach her sons to not say stuff like that, not believe stupid, archaic things like this. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. What she's saying at the end there, in saying that she needed to teach her other son and his friends not to gossip, that is absolute trash. If anything, Bracken is helping her out here. He's definitely helping Neville out. I mean, he's calling him out on his sexist remarks. That's what you want a brother to do. I don't know why you, as the mother, wouldn't be backing your son up on that one and saying to your other son, no, listen, you need to stop with this sort of stuff. Again, I'm not trying to blame the mum for saying these things to him in the first place, but it is her responsibility to make sure that she is, looking after her son, and part of that is obviously monitoring the opinions that he has, the friends that he has, what he does online, and making sure that he knows that those sort of opinions are just ridiculous. Don't have them. Oh wow, just looking at a comment here. I thought this was going to be about bullying because she named her son Bracken. I mean, it's completely irrelevant to the post entirely, but yeah, fair enough. Any Brackens out there? Get in the comments. Big respect to you and your name. Am I the jerk for shutting down a girl's attempt to diagnose me with an eating disorder? I lost my left leg when I was very young from a hospital-acquired infection. I have a prosthetic leg which I use for walking and another one for running and exercise. When I was on my parents' health insurance growing up, I got refitted regularly as I grew up. Now I'm too old to be on my parents' insurance, and while my company's insurance is considered very good, getting a new leg or getting adjustments for body weight changes is still expensive. I expect to be paying a fortune if I get pregnant. So I try my best to stay the same weight, and if I gain some weight, I can immediately feel it becoming less comfortable to walk. Anyway, a friend's girlfriend and I were talking, and she began remarking on how I'm not eating much. We were out to dinner, and I was just having a soup and salad, and everyone else was having baby back ribs. I stolen a few off my boyfriend's plate, but generally I was trying to eat light. I said I was trying to lose a few pounds, and she immediately assured me that I was beautiful the way I was, and I didn't need to lose weight. I told her, I know, but losing weight helps me with my mobility. She then began diagnosing me with an eating disorder, saying I must have a delusion, I was very heavy and having issues walking. I was fuming. She sounded super condescending, and I blurted out that she had no business talking down to me about my weight, even if it was to tell me not to change it. The other people overheard, and the girlfriend got really embarrassed and left with my friend soon after. Now, my boyfriend thinks that I should have explained why I need to keep my weight the same, but I don't think I should have to pull out my disability to get her to shut up. With long, loose pants, it's often hard to tell that I have a prosthetic leg. I don't know if she knew, but I didn't feel like justifying why my weight needed to stay the same. But am I the jerk for shutting down her attempts to diagnose me with an eating disorder? There we go. Pretty stupid one to end, to be honest. Why is this person commenting on you? I just don't understand. You're obviously right, and again, obviously not the jerk here. You do not have to tell anybody ever about your disability or explain it to them if you don't want to. Yes, I concede that it might have helped her to understand why you were doing what you were doing, but also she has no right to even ask in the first place, or even question it in the first place, or comment on it. That is the truth. So it's completely up to you if you want to do that. It's also not up to your boyfriend to suggest that. It's up to you. It's your body at the end of the day. Now, with that being said, I do actually think if I was in this position, mate, who knows, right? This woman could have had so many questions over the years about, oh, why are you eating this? Oh, you got a prosthetic leg, etc., etc. What happened? So she's probably sick of it. She is probably sick of it. I think that personally, I would give someone the benefit of the doubt and explain it to them the first time. But that is me sort of standing here without a disability that I've had to explain to people over the years. So I don't know if that's the case. But I think if someone was genuinely asking me legitimately, oh, by the way, why are you doing that? You look in good shape. You know what's going on. How come you're doing that? Then you can actually explain to them, oh no, it's not really because I'm out of shape. I just have to stay in this shape. Otherwise I'll get extremely uncomfortable, which is abnormal, right? I think it's okay to explain once just so people understand, but I don't know, it probably does get really frustrating over the years. And the way that this person has asked it means that I probably wouldn't even want to explain it to them when they're saying, oh, you must have an eating disorder. Yeah, to be fair, at that point, I'm shutting down and I'm saying, nah, I'm not explaining anything to you. You don't deserve any sort of explanation.